Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is our MeWe Awakening panel for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. In our awakening panels, we have different themes each time, and tonight's theme is on generational toxicity and trauma. There are 10 practitioners on the panel tonight. We all have experience working with this topic. We all approach it in different ways. We all have different modalities we use for working with people. And we're here to be with you, to hold space, be in this container together, and see how we can be of service, sharing the way we approach these kinds of topics, and really any question that you want to ask us with what we do, what we bring. All right, well, we're going to go through and have the practitioners share about who they are and talk about the theme. And maybe let's see if the practitioners, we can split it in two parts tonight. Let's do shorter introductions just about ourselves, and then we'll take 1 to 2 minutes each to share about the topic. So as best you can, split it up and just talk about you in general and all your modalities first. Yeah, and then you'll have a chance to come back and talk about the theme. I just imagine the theme is so rich. All right, and I will keep letting people in. And so let's see, we need an order with which to do this, and more people keep coming in. Great, I know it's a popular topic. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's do a similar pattern that we did before. Well, I know what order do we want to do. Let's just follow a similar order before. Okay, so Susan, and I can't tell if I'm having some trouble with Zoom. I'm not right now, but when a couple of you shared, the video was being a little funny. So let's hopefully everything will come through easily. And I will, maybe I'll start spotlighting all the practitioners too. So we'll have Susan, and then I think it was Audrey, and then Eva, and then Sally and Henry and Laurie, and then we'll have Wendy, and we'll see who else comes in then. All right, so maybe just take a minute or two to share about you, and then we'll come back and we'll do another round of a minute or two about the subject. All right, so Susan, you are first.
Lucky me. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Susan Watkins with Inspired Life Essential Wellness. And as I've gone through my healing journey, I've just taken into the practice, my own practice, things that help me. And I enjoy sharing those with other people in hopes of helping them on their journey. And what's been really beneficial for me has been Reiki, sound healing, using just lots of different crystal Tibetan bowls, as well as therapy harp. I also use oracle cards, tarot cards, and guided meditation, as well as yoga. So Thai yoga massage as well. So really my modalities have just kind of bloomed over the years. As something has helped me, it's like, oh, it's like a great restaurant, right? Like, oh, I gotta share this with everybody I meet. So I look forward to sharing with you this evening and answering your questions and being of service in any way that I can. Again, my company is Inspired Life Essential Wellness, and you can reach me at inspiredlife.service@gmail.com.
Thanks so much, Susan. All right, and I think Audrey.
Hello, everybody. I'm Audrey Lee. I've been in the metaphysics for over three decades. I have a great passion for studying people's soul journeys and their spiritual development. So one of the great tools that I use is astrology. And then, of course, there are also destiny cards or tarot cards or other things. And it helps me to see people's struggles as they go along. Perhaps with today's topic, we're looking at people, their early childhood development. And with that, I see a lot of people struggling with their emotional, perhaps difficulties with communication, or just misunderstanding, or different people being put together with different spiritual purposes. So anyway, I would love to be able to have that discussion with you this evening. And I can be found at audreyleemetaphysics.com. And I also hold a lot of meetups during the week. So look forward to talking with all of you.
Thanks so much, Audrey. All right, let's see. And then it was Eva.
Yep. This is Eva Vennari here, and I'm with the Elevate Institute. And I'm a previously very sick corporate ladder climber. Anybody who's been a number in a big company understands the stress of that. And I allow people now who are just like my old me, very stressed out and trying to get through their day, to get back into a state of fortification in their bodies, immune system especially, without drugs, without trendy diets, and without some sort of fad supplement from the Amazon jungle. So we're looking at natural ways to get the body back into alignment. And one of my specialties is being able to get the body out of its own way so that you can spiritually develop. And it's, again, Eva Vennari with the Elevate Institute.
All right, thanks so much, Eva. And then, oh yeah, Sally, and then Laurie, and then Wendy. Oh, Henry's in here. Sally, Henry, Laurie, Wendy. All right, Sally.
Hi, my name is Sally with Sally Spiritual Guidance. I'm an intuitive and psychic tarot and oracle card reader, as well as a psychic medium. I offer a variety of different readings. My passion is more towards mediumship. I truly enjoy bringing messages of comfort and healing after, you lose a loved one, or just, someone that you want to have a connection with. And I also provide guidance with, daily situations. Whatever you're struggling with. People come to me with their kids, people come to me about their relationships, whatever you're struggling with. So I'm looking forward to this sensitive topic tonight, because I think it's super important. And it's also something that comes up a lot in my mediumship readings, where people are trying to break that generational traumas, and they're trying to explain it to their loved ones here on the physical plane. So, and I really didn't know anything about it, to be honest with you, until I started doing the mediumships and readings, and it all just made sense. So I'm looking forward to it, and welcome. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Sally. All right, Henry.
Hi, everybody. It's so exciting to be here and to meet all of you. I mean, there's quite a few of the practitioners I've met before. Hi, everybody. And maybe even some of the people who are visiting with us this evening. I look forward to working with you and hearing your questions. I have several modalities I work in: life coaching, spiritual directing, and life and tarot readings. And it's all about, for most of my life, I wasn't sure what my purpose is. I got close, but it never quite felt like, yes, unequivocally, that's the one. I felt more like I'm talented in a lot of different ways, and I could go all kinds of ways. And so finding my purpose, that was the breakthrough for me. And so now I help other people find their purpose, because literally that is my purpose. Duh, until I found it, I couldn't. You see how it works. So yeah, tonight is a great topic. I help people develop practices and exercises and for embodiment and energy work and psychic protection, all the things that go into living a spiritual life. And I so look forward to your questions and just connecting with everyone, and also talking about tonight's subject, which is powerful. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. All right, Laurie and Wendy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laurie Bryant, and I'm from Laurie's Angelic Guidance and Intuitive Healing. I'm a psychic, medium, tarot reader, rune cards, whatever. I'm also an angel alchemist, so they help me a lot with different things. And my modalities are Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I do Theta. I'm also a Seraphim Blueprint healer, which is closest to God, and it's just amazing healing, actually. And this subject here tonight is very, very dear to me. It's very personal. I did my own journey as well with my healing after going through my healing and everything you went through in life, being raised by a narcissist to marrying one and having a boss as one. So very versed in this subject, and my group is actually where my heart's desire is at the moment, which is a group on healing your wounds from your narcissism. So I do a lot of inner child work when I do healing on people. And I also go into past lives, break those ancestral bonds sometimes that we carry into this life when we do healing. And sometimes we can't seem to break that, whatever's happening for us. So we have to go deeper. We have to go down our ancestral lineage. For an example, today I had a healing done on myself, and we went six generations on my mother's side for something. And it's just very powerful. It was a very powerful release today. So I'm looking very forward to talking with you all. And thank you.
Thanks so much, Laurie. All right, Wendy.
Hi, my name is Wendy Sloniker. I'm a grief coach and an advanced grief recovery specialist, and my business name is Heart Healing from Loss. Uh, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we as humans can experience way more than 40 different life events that can give grounds for grief and loss. This topic tonight is super rich, so I'm delighted to be invited and to share and connect with you. Pretty much what I do, some of my teaching, my studies have involved end of life work and also life coaching. So I kind of say that I work in thoughts and feelings management as a life and death coach. Ta-da! I'm so happy to be here, and thanks. I look forward to our conversation tonight.
Great. Thanks so much, Wendy. And we have a couple of other practitioners that should be joining us. We have Susie Parker Goins that should be here shortly, and she's from Blue Lightning Healing. She does past life insights, chatting with spirit. She does channeling, and she's starting to do mediumship, or knowing she's doing mediumship. And so she will be here. And then also, is there someone else? There should be someone else too. Let's see. We've got Karen Coccia does quantum energy healing, and she's coming a little bit later tonight. So those are 9. And then I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader and a body psychology coach. I read your eyes, read your soul, to give you a better understanding of your soul and your lessons and where you are in your journey and how you can get more in alignment with your journey and your purpose, and how that might apply on your career path, in your relationships. I can help you better understand people you're already relating with. If you're single, I can help you find partners that are soulmates to help you deepen in your expression of who you are and feel more fulfillment and joy, all kinds of different things. And so delving back into our history and how we turned out the way we did, all kinds of things. Well, let's see. So we're going to now go around again, and I'm open to any order. We don't have to go in the same order as before, talking about the theme tonight. So generational toxicity and trauma. Some of you, it's deeply integrated into your work, right? You've already shared a little bit about it. But yeah, feel free to share specifically about this, everyone who'd like to. And yeah, go ahead, take another minute or two and give this some context. So yeah, whoever wants to jump in and start first, and just let's keep it to a minute or two so we have time to ask questions. And yeah, great. Time to answer questions. Does anyone want to share first?
Shall I go?
Go ahead.
Wait,
Go ahead.
Several at one time.
Everybody got shy. What happened to y'all? This is not the group I know. So on toxicity, not only in relationships, but in the body, these are my 2 special things. And here's what I've noticed after years. It's 11 years in practice now, working with people who initially came to me for, chronic fatigue, anxiety, hypothyroidism, a lot of the things that many people are now experiencing due to COVID. Well, guess what? There's been a great body of people who have experienced it long before. And as we work together to overcome the physical toxicity that's going on in the body, well, the complaints, they disappear from, let's talk about the physical stuff, to, well, let's talk about the other things that are really causing the problems. And it ends up being conversations about family and about work relationships. And oftentimes when you're clearing out toxicity, you get an actual capturing, like a capsule, like a time capsule that can be released for that person to come up and heal. And they could be related to Akashic record messages, things that are pertinent to that person's healing in that moment in time. Could be messages from loved ones, from your higher guides, from higher self. It could be also related to life lessons. This is when, there's situations where these come up, karmic issues, like repeating relationships where you get the same guy in a different skin suit. That's a specialty. And core wounds, like mother wound. So all of these things are what I work with, and I can answer questions on tonight. And what I've discovered about working with all of that is that when you heal your own body, you heal the generations past and your legacy forward, as well as the work that you do with your contemporaries. So I'm pleased to be here, and I welcome who's next.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. And looks like Audrey wants to share. Go ahead, Audrey. And then Laurie, if you want to
Thank
go.
you. Okay, thank you. I just want to use a little bit of a different language here with the astrology. You know, perhaps some of you are somewhat familiar with astrology. And just as we come into this conversation today, the chart of the moment, the energy of the moment is with the moon on the ascendant. So of course, a lot of people have a very deep emotional connection to this issue, or that you have gone through a lot of, this inner struggle or emotional involvement with, your family situation and generation. Now, also another thing that I see in the chart is the Chiron in the 4th house on the IC. And that means there was, IC is a family environment. So with the Chiron, the hurt, the wound, there, we feel that there is a scar. You know, perhaps we got hurt when we were young, either emotionally or physically. You fell down, or people, bullied you or something. And so there's a scar. Even as you have healed, you may still feel like, oh, look at me. I constantly have this scar on my face, and people see me. They notice, or they know what my problem is. But actually, maybe people don't. But we are extra sensitive about it within ourselves. That's like a permanent reminder. And another thing that I see is the Sun and Venus Mars in the 8th house of emotional attachment. And it also goes into our physical waste processing, this process, like your digestion, or, putting out waste, whatever that you eat in, and how long it stays in your body. And if you get sick from it, the digestive system and all of that. So I think that will probably play into our conversation today.
Thanks so much. Laurie, did you have something you wanted to share? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say about the generations and stuff. And like I said before, we can heal very deeply on this level, but until we actually go deeper and deal with our generations that also have had the trauma, we won't fully heal. And as far as toxicity, I felt that I went through a lot of toxicity in my life, and you keep repeating those patterns, like others have said, until you heal that and recognize and learn and educate yourself on the different types of people, like narcissists, toxic people, and things like that. And then you just start to heal and not allow them around. That's the best thing to do, is just realize and learn and educate yourself. The greatest.
Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah.
So I found this topic really interesting because it is intergenerational trauma and toxicity. I know a lot about the trauma my mom went through because she was abused by her brothers in a sexual nature. And so I grew up with this knowledge and her protecting me from that happening to me. And it affected me. So not only was this something I experienced genetically, but it affected me how she protected me, to where it made me very, very extremely suspicious of men, and rightfully so, because I ended up in show business. And let me tell you, that's quite the hunting ground. So it was good that she did not want this family romance, as it is sometimes referred to continue in my life. And indeed, I was completely protected. And also, in terms of epigenetics, my parents went through World War II in Germany. I'm from Germany, and they experienced the bombs falling and the hunger and disease and the Jewish people being murdered. And my father was Jewish, so it was a miracle he survived. And so I experienced this trauma in myself, and I have to heal it over and over and over and over and over. It's like this background hum of anxiety that she experienced. about 6 years before I was born. And so it's really a part of me too. So this is a very important piece to heal. So that's partly why I'm so excited about this topic coming up. So great job, Laureli. What a great topic. Yeah.
And I appreciate all the different perspectives we're bringing. Go ahead, Wendy.
Hi, thanks so much. Already we're kicking off. All awesome. So about grief, which is often neglected and misunderstood because it's not fun and it brings up feelings that we'd rather not. Like none of the feelings about grief are on any of our top 10 most favorite feelings lists. So we often just choose to try to shunt or resist or deny or stuff. And this is something we've been taught through generations. And just to touch on a couple of other seeds that I would love to just scatter and share with you, you know, we've already been through a lot just to get to where we are today right now. Like we've been through a lot. If we look at our life experiences around moves or pet loss or people coming and going into our lives, large changes. 2020 had a series of big changes and big losses. So we've already been through a lot. And it's important to just like consider, like, hey, I don't want to tell you what's up or what to do, but like, hey, try it on. Is it possible that like what we gather in life experience, unless we process it and really move through it and heal on any level that we are able and willing to do, like it will compound negatively in our bodies. This has been true of my experience. I tend to stay in grief, in cycles of grief and loss, if I don't process. And if I am not willing, and if I try to resist, it just keeps getting heavier and heavier. Losses compound negatively. There's studies on that, which I can substantiate with a link for further reading. I'm happy to do it. But I'm interested in the conversation. I'm interested in the conversation and also the idea that every trauma contains, like there's a loss element in every trauma. So if we took the example of perhaps sexual abuse that was mentioned a little bit earlier, like what were the losses that were sustained? Was it loss of control, a loss of innocence, a loss of body, a loss of voice, loss of safety, loss of security, loss of trust? Lots of loss. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. So it's valuable to note it and name it. Our language for the loss and for grief and loss is dated because we haven't been given or taught new tools yet. Thank you so much for letting me weigh in.
Go ahead, Sally.
I just want to say one thing really quick. Part of like the trauma and the toxicity, as a reader, I've noticed when people come to me, we're so reliant on what somebody else is going to tell us. A lot of people want answers. So they'll come to me and they'll say, you know, when is my ex coming back? Is he in love with someone else? This or that or the other thing. They never come to me, very rarely, and say, what can I do to move forward? Or what can I do to bring love into my life? Or what can I do to attract my soulmate? So when we even just shift our questions like that and turn it to ourselves, we kind of can move away from that toxicity. Because if we continue to want that person back, instead of analyzing ourselves and looking at what we can do to facilitate that, it's like, it's a continue of the toxicity. We don't ever get away from it, right? And you can tell these, you know, your clients that they're not going to come back, or you can tell them, but they don't want to hear that. You know, people want you to just kind of solve their problems. So if we can shift the mindset to solving our own problems, or going within and trying to figure out what we can do to fix the problems, your life will shift so much, and everything will just change from that point on. That's what I try to tell my clients the most. You know, ask the important questions, you know. But I just wanted to weigh in with that. Thank you.
I would say, Sally, I think what you're saying is like so typical of the common
It is.
common setting of where people come to psychics or other practitioners to answer questions, is they're often looking for that other person to come up with the answers, and they're looking for I guess to step away from pain, and they're not actually facing their part in things and growing through it and changing it. And fortunately, most of our events, like, we've created space where people are willing to grow and change, and that's what we primarily do here. And yeah, this is great.
And sometimes they just need you to explain that to them, and that light bulb goes off in their head and they're like, oh, you're right. And I've seen people come back to me and change their questions the next time to something different. How can I keep my relationship happy? Or how can I move forward from this, loss? And I'm like, yeah, you got it now. Yay. So.
All right, Susan.
I love what was just shared there. I work with people a lot from the physical perspective. In the past, I was an occupational therapy assistant, and then currently I teach yoga classes. And so I get people coming saying, I've got this pain in my neck, or I have a lot of anxiety, and so we try to approach it from the top down versus the bottom up, and and really, rather than addressing the pain, kind of looking at, well, what might be causing that pain? Is there something emotionally, yes, physically, but then looking, holding space and honoring how you feel. And sometimes we don't even check in with how we feel. We're just trying to move to the next thing and help me fix this. And so I think if you can, like you say, change that perspective to really honor how you feel. Ask yourself every day, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What's one thing, just one thing I can do today that would support me toward feeling and showing up for myself the way that I want to show up? And then also recognizing those patterns. A lot of times we don't want to rock the boat. We just want to go through life, just let it be easy. And, but really seeing and acknowledging those patterns. In yoga, we call them samskara. So same scar, it's kind of like a record. You keep going around and around. When it's got that skip, it goes back. And so you go a little bit further and then you go back. So just, honoring that path and those patterns, and then deciding that it stops with me, that maybe that's the way things have been done in the past, but it doesn't have to happen now. And then, as others have shared, as you heal yourself, you're healing the people before you, as well as whoever may come after. And not only yourself, but anyone you may come in contact. I mean, your legacy is really anybody that you touch and come in contact with throughout your life, be it a coworker, a neighbor, someone you just randomly smile at the grocery store. I mean, that can have a huge impact. You don't know what's going on with their day. So I know we've got some questions coming up, but really, really excited to be here. Could talk forever.
Great. Maybe I'll say a little bit too. I've experienced trauma in my own life. Sexual trauma when I was young. My mom, mentally unhealthy, ways that we could diagnose and ways that weren't diagnosed, and we didn't know at the time. We lived with my grandmother. We lived first in my mom's house, and then she lived in our house. And looking backwards, I realized she's narcissistic. My mom has some of that too, but definitely my grandma. So that's big. And the first career I chose was to please my grandmother. So lots of ways that I followed through with things too. I feel fortunate that my grandmother happened to really like me and appreciate me. And I didn't see the hard side directed at me, but I saw it directed at my mother endlessly. And she even used the approval of me as further disapproving my mother. And so just the big crash of my mother winding down. And when I was in my 20s, my mom ended her life. Really painful set of experiences. And I know my mom and her sister, I can imagine some of what the trauma was, but clearly the both of them had so much trauma. And my aunt chose someone that physically abused her to be in relationship with. And I'm sure my cousin, and I believe he abused me as well. So it's lots of cycles, in families and how things get repeated. I know this last year I've been studying a lot of racial justice. And so the racism, just the toxicity and the trauma of racism that's so systemic in our culture. And the generations and the history, those of us on this panel, because of the way we practice, we're often connected to the history of witches and just what comes through all of us. No, there's just so much here. For me in my own healing, in addition to going through all these different stages of grief, and this is one of the stages of grief, I believe, is connecting with my anger. So I separate anger and aggression. So healthy anger, for me, that's a deep valuing of me and honoring of myself and knowing my boundaries and being able to know this in me and express it through me, out of me, not necessarily to people that it's connected to with my past trauma, but being able in the universe to own my space and know my value. And for me, that's a big step that a lot of people move through in their healing journey. And for me, anger is about yes and no, and say boundaries, knowing my value. And then aggression is really being aggressive or toxic with someone else. And a lot of us go through that in the messiness of the fear and sorting out our own feelings and health and part of this journey. Right? So all being here together, helping us like true up and connect with the best of who we are and being able to express who we are and create our own safety and choose environments where we feel honored, where we are honored. Is there anything else I want to say about that? As healing as possible. I think whatever has happened, there's so much that we can do. There's always something that we can do. Yeah. With lots of optimism, along with all of the things that can be so challenging. Anything else practitioners you want to say before we jump in with questions? And I get to check in with some of our practitioners that I think have not made it yet. I know one's having technical trouble. She just wrote, okay, Susie won't be coming tonight. All right, see if there's any other device she can find to get in, but yeah. All right, yeah. All right. Well, let's see, we can get started with the first question. And I got a couple of messages in chat to get to as well. We've got Jasmine, and maybe if I'm pronouncing these right, Lacey and Joey in line, or Joy in line for questions, and we might get more people. That's great. I'm sure we can answer more questions too. And practitioners, there are only 8 of us here right now, so probably we're doing okay. We'll have 9 later. So we might not all answer every question, just depending on how long our answers are. And there might be there's a request to shift up the order a little bit. Let's see. But yeah, so we might not all answer each question. So, and if you've answered a question or 2 already, I might skip and go to one of the practitioners that hasn't answered yet, just so you know. Yeah, whenever you're ready, practitioners, to answer, go ahead and just raise your hand and Zoom, and I'll know you're ready. So there's a few things just to set up before we start answering questions. So this is recorded and it will get posted online. And of course, we're talking about a sensitive topic. Many of our topics are, this one maybe more so. You can ask a question about anything tonight. It doesn't just have to be on the topic. So when you ask a question for us to answer, we may go deeper than you intend us to go in this recorded public forum, or we may talk about other topics that for us are related, but that you don't want us talking about here. And that's so okay. We're here to honor you. So please, if you want to give us some guidance before we start answering, do that. If you want to interrupt us, please do that. Wave your hands, jump in, unmute, and do anything to get our attention so that we can shift course. We're here to honor you in this experience. We believe that everyone is intuitive, so there might be other messages that come through you tonight listening. I encourage you to have something to write something down with for anything that appears for you. It's a great opportunity to practice expanding your intuition to see if what comes through you happens to correlate in some way with what we share. Of course, you may have something else that's different come through as well, maybe completely valid. We do ask that you hold that to yourself while we're answering someone's question. If you want to share it with them, please ask first. Please wait until we're done answering their question and then privately write them in chat and ask if they'd like to hear what came through you. It's possible that they'll be full. So please, if they say no, just trust that it's come through you for some other reason, not to be shared with them. But if they want it, please go ahead and share. So please allow the attention to stay up on the panel tonight. If you have a general supportive thing that you want to share in the chat, or just a general question about the topic or anything like that, feel free to write that in the chat. Just please, if you're not on the panel, don't be answering people in the chat. Oh, and practitioners, I wanted to say too, if you're probably not going to be answering a question just because we've got so many others in line, or if you've got something else extra you want to share, please go ahead and you can write that in the chat though. So even if you haven't answered, go ahead and you can share in the chat. Yeah, so we don't know how many questions we'll have. We know we've got 3 at the moment, so please let's attempt to keep our answers more concise. And I'll put the information in the chat again for reaching out with all the practitioners. Afterwards, if you'd like to, we all have either short complimentary sessions or inexpensive, like lower packages and things like that. So you can work with us privately. We're eager to connect with you, like all of you listening and anyone that watches the video later, and work with you. This is what we love to do. All right, well, let's see. So there was JC, if you are willing to go first, you could go first. Is that something that you would like to do? Are you open to that? I can see you here.
Is that for me?
Yeah. Are you ready to ask your question first? Okay, great.
I can go first. I've never been to one of these, so I don't really know what the process is. So I'll just say hello. My name is Lacey Mashad. I'm from Alaska, and I was actually having a kind of a rough day today. And I probably will cry because I was crying earlier today. And so I'm really sorry if I do.
It's okay. It's so
I'm actually not a crier. I'm actually like, I cry like once a month, and I get like a real good cry because I look hungover and like crazy the next day. So I try to keep my crying to a minimal because like I get the puffy eyes and the, I look like a halibut and I'm like, oh, I'm all crazy. So I try to keep my crying to a minimum when I can. But my friend, she made a post about her dad. It was like a couple of year anniversary since he passed, and my dad passed a couple months after. And so I was just kind of bringing up emotions. And, I thought I had to heal that generational toxicity because I come from a long line of alcoholics. And I was an alcoholic, and I had been sober pretty much off and on for, I've had a couple slip-ups since 2014. And so I thought that was my focus, was heal that generational trauma. And then I was reading or something, I don't remember, something came up and they're like, oh, if your birthday is May 14th, that's what my birthday is. They said, you don't need to heal your dad's generational trauma. May is mom and the 14th is mom. You got to heal your mom's generational trauma. And I was like, I didn't even know we had any. So that's kind of been a new thing that I like literally just learned that 2 days ago. So I'm trying to process that and figure out what I need to do there. And I don't know if that has to deal with past generational trauma or kind of what's going on now, because my mom's having a really hard time with my dad passing. He passed 3 years ago, 2018, September 2018. And even though he was an alcoholic, he was high functioning. He was a great guy. Him and I got sober together. So that was very bonding for us, which also made it very hard in the end. And I swear he just like knew his soul's purpose in the world, was just like, you figured it all out, dude. And I don't know. And so I was really grieving today at like 3:00, just full on crying about how I don't understand. Everybody talks about these soul contracts because I'm trying to go through a spiritual awakening right now. And then I also figured out I have ADHD. So I'm like kind of trying to understand that. And I'm almost 40. And so it's just like a lot of learning new things and taking things in and kind of a lot of relearning stuff. And I'm trying to wrap my head around like these soul contracts and reasons for living, and how they say like, you're a soul in a human form, and you're here to have all these experiences. And I'm just like, why would anybody want to experience grief? I just don't, I don't understand how you just, I watched him take his last breath, and it, every man in my life that's been good has died, and I have nobody. Like, I have no good men in my life, and I've completely like shut out dating. Anytime somebody brings up like relationship tarot, I'm like, oh God. Like, can we just not? Like, can I just be single for like 10 more years? Thanks. But I'm just so far away from that right now. But yeah, it's just been really tough trying to process all of that. And the fact that my mom, she doesn't want to go see any counselors. She doesn't want to go see anybody. I keep trying to get her to go see therapy. I'm very pro therapy. I'm very, very pro anything. I'm like, read these books, do this, do that, you know, do whatever you can. And so, and then I have a younger brother who was very close to my dad, who's kind of lost. He doesn't know what he wants to do. And I'm just carrying a lot. I'm like the family admin, is what I say jokingly, but it's very exhausting.
Share briefly, how old are you? How old is your brother?
I'm 39 and my brother will be 35, 36. I don't know. We're kind of old. We're like those old what do you call it when you don't have babies?
You're not. I was just asking because I was thinking about some other astrological things and all that. That's good.
Yeah. But like
you do a lot of family admin.
We're older millennials.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like all the stuff that my dad did, I'm doing now. So like I'm booking vacations and I'm doing the taxes and I'm doing, you know, all this stuff. And I don't mind doing it because it's helping my family. But I'm like, this is just exhausting. And I've had to pump the brakes and build boundaries with my mom, which I'm gonna have to build them a couple times. So I've been getting much, much better with that. But it's hard when you see her just struggle. And you know, it's hard. I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. Your dad used to make these decisions. And I'm like, you gotta effing make a decision. Okay, because I can't, and I'm tired of it. And like, just tell me what you want. You know. And so there's just times where I see her sad and I don't know what to do, and I want to help her, but I just like all this cluster of bleh.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go through it, and my brother's trying to go through it, and she feels bad when he feels bad, and I feel bad when they feel bad, and it's just like this cycle of feeling bad. And then my grandma, my grandpa died like 10 years ago, who I was really close to. And before she married him, she was like during the Great Depression, her dad like threw all his kids out into orphanages and stuff. And so she bounced around orphanages. And so she was a very strong but caring mother. Like, she's like, my kids are going to have the stuff I never had. And so she's kind of tough. She's like really sweet, but kind of tough. Like, well, buck up, and pull your bootstraps up. And I'm like, well, maybe she shouldn't. Like, maybe she should see therapists. Like, maybe, like I'm a little more softer, a little more like millennial-y. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. It's just like kind of a weird trash chute of opinions, and it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. And I want to
just pause you a little bit because I think we're getting a good sense of what's here.
Okay.
Are there any other people that it's really important for us to know about?
Mainly my dad passing. Well, mainly him. That he's the most recent, the most that I'm attached to.
And did you say he passed in 2018? When?
Yeah, I think it was September 4th of 2018.
Okay. Well, I think people are already ready to give you some answers. I think there's definitely some things we can share with you. Do you feel ready? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Someone else had a hand up. It's down at the moment. But yeah, go ahead. We'll have Sally go first. And then Lacey, thank you so much for sharing with you. And I think there's a lot of compassion here for all that you shared among the panel and among everyone here.
Okay, so first, a lot of what you said came up in the cards. So the first card I pulled was the Devil. Okay, but it was kind of sort of reversed. I don't really read reversals, but the devil's all about alcohol. It can be about alcohol, it can be about drug, it's bad behaviors, addictions, toxic. So the fact that it was kind of almost reversed, it's like, to me, some of these cards are telling me that in the back of your mind, maybe that continually worries you, that, you know what I mean, your sobriety, it feels like it's, I don't think that you're on the verge of not being it, but it's a constant worry in your mind of kind of like maybe sliding back into that or something, you know. It's something I feel like that you have to work really hard to kind of continue to do, right? And then we got the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands is always about choices and contemplations. That's why it's making me feel like you have a lot that you're thinking about. You're constantly having to feel like you're making a decision, like you said, in some way. And the Two of Wands is a card sometimes that reassures you that you have everything that you need, but it's like you still want something else. It's, you know what I mean? It's like that not being 100% happy or content with yourself. And I got the Ten of Wands, which is burden. It's this person who's just overburdened at the end of their rope. You know, they just really are going through a lot. And then the Queen of Swords I got. So when you were talking about your mom, and the first thing I got with this card was when they were saying about healing stuff about your mom, the feeling I got was maybe the way people talked to her, or maybe the women in your family, the way they talk. And then when you were saying something about your grandmother, I was like, okay, maybe that's it. It's that harsh way of speaking. But the Queen of Wands, I mean, the Queen of Swords can also be a counselor of some sort. So this can be like that your mom definitely is holding things in and she's not talking about things enough, and she really needs to be able to talk about this situation with somebody that can kind of guide her, and not in, sometimes the Queen of Swords, you have to speak up for yourself, okay? But this is more feeling to me like she needs to speak to somebody outside of the situation, like you said, that's going to be able to come in a discerning way and help her navigate through those feelings. But when you were talking about your dad, I got this card that says, I've become one of your guides and I am not dead, okay? I feel him around you, and I feel him, he's very proud of you, but at the same time, I feel like he's saying that, you know, that you, number one, don't have to do these things, okay? And number two, that you have every ability to do anything that you set your mind to, okay? And in terms of him, I think he's stepping forward with a little bit of an apology in terms of saying that I think he feels like he did do too much, okay? And because of that, he has, it's kind of like what you're saying about him and the men in your life. He was such a good provider for you that it's like he has set the bar so high that you don't feel like, even if it's not so much you don't want someone, it's so much that you are needing a certain person in your life that's going to match the level that he was with you and continue to provide you with that level of love and security. But he's saying that you will find that, and you have to open yourself up to it, because if you don't, you're not going to, it's not that you don't want a relationship, it's that you fear it. You fear the loss. You fear getting close to someone, and you fear that they're not going to be able to replace your dad in a sense of that man that has always taken care of you and been there for you. But he says you will, you can do it, and there's someone out there. But he also is making me feel like when you're ready, okay, when you're really ready, there's no rush. He's like, there's no race. And but I think he's sending you lots of love, lots of love. And just the only apology I'm getting from him is really that he kind of a little bit did too much, you know, and he feels like he has now left that burden on you, you know, because your mom never really had to do that stuff for herself. So he's like, you know, but other than that, he's just, I feel him there. I think he's there all the time. You probably feel him. I think he thinks you're doing a great job with it, you know, and crying is good. Crying is good. You should cry a lot. Cry as much as you need to cry, because you know what? My dad passed around the same time, and I cried a lot in the beginning, and now, I can talk about him. And there's a saying that when you can tell your story without crying, that's when you know you've healed, or that's when you know you've made some progress. Okay. So continue to tell your story and continue to cry until you get to the point where you're not feeling that way anymore. And then you'll know that you're getting it out and you're healing. Okay. And that's the message I have. Thank you.
No, it's great. My mom died over 25 years ago. So yeah, lots of crying, lots of time passed. All right, let's see. So we've got Audrey and then Wendy. Go ahead, Audrey. Let's get, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when you started talking, I saw your heart chakra is in like a very irregular flowery shape. So I thought, okay, your heart is all open. And, so sometimes when your energy is open like that, and particularly is in an irregular shape, that means you're not well-centered, or that you're not well-rounded. And so I can definitely feel that your feelings are kind of fractured perhaps, or that you are trying to let out some of the energy that's within, but it's shooting out in a very irregular pattern. So again, that could help. That can make you feel like, oh, I just don't have any control in life. However, I drew a card for you. The card that I'm using today is the chakra cards, and this is a blue card, and this is expansion. So the blue card is about the third eye. It's telling you that your life is meant to go at the pace of expansion right now. And instead of being kind of held back with some of the emotional distraught and feeling like, oh, I'm walking in a very treacherous road, you can go out there and put your energy into a constructive way if you so choose. Of course, that would be very good, especially you have a talent for money, for the material, the mundane world, whatever that you need to do with, financial management. You're actually very, very good at that. And once you put your energy into that constructive pattern, then you will have so much less time to stay home and sob. In the astrology tool that I have, it says that your moon, which is you, your emotion, and the south node are in the 12th house of staying hidden, or staying within your own emotion. So there is a very good guidance saying that you can go out, reach out just ever so slightly. Maybe, go hang out with some friends from time to time on the weekends, or, get on Zoom, just like what we're all doing right now, talking to some people. And that is a very good therapy for you. And just one more thing. And so your dad, almost forgot to say what he wants to tell you. This is a red card from your father, and it says renewal. So you can see that he's holding out his arms. He's feeling very positive, and he feels like he is on a higher spiritual level now. So, please, he's saying that, oh, don't worry about me, please. And you can just, move on with your life, and you can feel that missing, that missing is what drives you to tears. But he says, oh, you can feel that you miss me, but I'm really doing quite good. So that's what he told me.
I think I
Go
might
ahead,
be up.
Wendy. Yeah.
Hi, thanks so much. Lacey, thanks so much. Super nice to chat a little bit with you. I really heard what you were saying about, I believe it was your mom talking about pulling herself up by her bootstraps. My grandmother on my father's side, she was a character, and she would talk about pulling myself up by my bra straps. So she really just wasn't messing around. What we've been taught is to like do and go. And when it comes to feelings of loss, that is the domain and realm of the heart, and we cannot fix it with the brain. it's like painting a room with a screwdriver. We can't really do it. And so I guess really just for as much as you're doing and noticing and serving and witnessing and trying to learn and take in, there's a lot going on up here above the neck. So if there was a way to encourage yourself, even by just like touching down into your collarbone, I wonder, like, hey, what am I doing next? It doesn't have to be big, but it can be present. Just getting into the realm of the heart. Yeah, I'm excited for you to do that and keep stepping through and up and through and up. Thanks so much. Great share.
Yeah, I'll jump in and share just a little bit after that. So one of the traits that I read in people's eyes are their talents. I have a map of 3 talents, or map of 7 talents, and I describe people as having 3. And I think that your most important one happens to be called scholar. It is about all the activity up here. And so you not only are doing a bunch of that right now, but you're really gifted in this area, which is part of why, right, this shows up, and also why you're able to do all these different admin things and jump in and help organize. You have the capacity of learning and doing lots of different things around that. And for me, one of the paradoxes about healing this has been that I can't figure it all out and I can't understand it. Like a lot of it is stored in my body, and then I don't remember a lot of it. Our brains protect us by having us forget. And so on the one hand, like starting to open it up and then not knowing, and all these questions can be kind of dizzying and like a scurry to try to map it and understand it, but it actually keeps us from healing. Some of the questions are good in that it helps us open and realize that there's something there, and it's going into our bodies, as Wendy suggesting, into our feelings. Right. And then eventually scholars grow to where they open their intuition. And it just sounds like you're totally on that journey. I just want to encourage you. This is part of why you're jumping in to do so many things. And while you're able, it's also not your responsibility. Chances are you already had to take care of your mom a lot growing up. And so part of it is like doing this right now, and that you're worried about your grandma, maybe too. I can't quite tell if you're worried or you're just giving us context. Yeah, maybe she takes care of herself enough. But it's your brother and your mom, and it's you might be going back into some of the old patterns of your childhood now that your dad's not here, and so you really want to watch that, because that can be a way that you're stepping backwards and just holding so much. And the pattern and the talents would be called server. Server is about love and care and intimacy, but they can get lost in caretaking, and so you might be doing a bit of the server masking and caretaking, which you had to do in childhood to make it here. Right? It was really useful to pay attention to how others were feeling and notice all that and take care of them. You're an adult now. And yeah, so you might have been in relationships too where you did a bunch of caretaking. And so like you did all this caretaking in your romantic relationships, and now you've switched it, so you're doing it with your family. And really the exhaustion is the caretaking, not specifically dating. It's, yeah. So part of that is learning to come back to you, and that feeling you and valuing you and knowing that you're good and knowing that you're worthy, and then no and yes, I'm worth this, and all those kinds of things. Yeah, I want us to, it just sounds like all the things that you're doing and holding and all the questions and all the ways you're opening, it is a lot. And because your brain can do and spin and take a lot on at one time and explore a lot, I just want to watch too that you're not doing so much as a way of keeping you from deepening, like, and letting you come to know and trust yourself more. You can jump in and say anything about all that we're saying too, Lacey. Just don't think you have to take it all. You can comment if you want, or redirect us or any of those things. All right, Eva, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Lucy. So, I mean, a lot of what has already been said, I was taking my notes as you were talking, and things came up about the boundaries and about self-love and all of these, caring for others before caring for yourself first. Like those I can set aside because you've heard them. But where I really want to focus on is your original question about the crying. And I want to give you an option to be able to interpret this in a different way than just sadness. And oftentimes, it's not just the body that's communicating with us or trauma that's communicating with us. It can be the communication to your higher self. And so here's something that I've learned about spirituality and connection with my higher self, and what my higher self knows a much broader sense of what's going on in my world than I can see. I think we all kind of can agree on that. And that contrast, if it's too great, if you're too far away from what your higher self knows and trusts and understands about what's going on in your life, and you're judging that as a complete opposite to what that higher self is aware of, then you can experience this deep sense of sadness and grief and crying. It can actually create convulsions in a body. You're so far away from your higher self that you're feeling the habitation of it, and it appears as tears and anger sometimes and confusion. So that can be used as a tool, and it's very simple to ask. And just like with your mother, and you asked, I don't know why this is happening with her, it's just ask and wait for spirit to provide answer. In a place where you can discern if it's coming from spirit. That would be my advice.
All right. Yeah, practitioners, anything else you want to share with Lacey? Yeah, and Lacey, thank you so much for being brave and jumping in here the first time and asking a question. And yeah.
Thank you guys for
Go
having
ahead,
me.
Lori. Yeah, I thought Lori might have something. Go ahead, Lori.
Sorry, I couldn't find the little hand thing. Lacey, you're doing awesome. Okay. And I feel that you're really stressing about what you need to do, like for everyone else. And like some others have said as well. And my suggestion to you would be focus on you, listen in your heart, stop the monkey mind, stop the chatter in your mind. Okay. Sit in your heart. Do you meditate at all, Lacey?
I've been trying, but with ADHD, my head kind of gets a little, filled with stuff. So I try to do it before I go to bed, and then I just kind of end up falling asleep.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
YouTube has wonderful meditations. There's a good one I listen to quite often. It's called Good Vibes, and they are amazing. It's just music, and it just helps to relax you, and all kinds of things, all kinds of healing ones on there. They're amazing. Okay, and if you don't like to actually meditate, just turn that on and just sit for a while, even 5 minutes. I'm really getting the message of you getting out of your mind, okay, and listening with your heart, because your heart will never lie to you. Our heart always tells us the truth. We always listen to this, right? So that, and as far I remember you saying something about generations in the beginning there of your conversation. And you're very stressing about wanting to know about the generations. So I wouldn't want to necessarily know what happened unless you really do want to go into the history. But maybe having a past life regression or a generational healing, things like that, might really help you. The generational healing I really get you need badly. Not badly, but you really need it. So that's something I do, and I know others on this panel as well do. So really look at your options for getting over some of the stuff that you're going through. And you are on a journey of self-discovery and enlightenment. And it's so exciting because I really get really good vibes for you on that. I think you're on a really good journey and you're in the right place. And don't question that, okay? Just go with your heart. Your heart will lead you. You have a lot of things coming ahead. A lot of really good stuff. You just have to get out of this. It's like a muddle, like a mud puddle right now that you're in. You just have to clear it. You just have to step out of it, right? And don't worry so much about everything that's going on. Just heal you. Get you to be the best version of you. That would be my best advice. And then step forward, and then you can heal others in the same predicament. Thank you, and thank you for being brave.
All right, great. We got 2 more hands up, so let's just go promptly, everyone. But Susan and then Henry. Go ahead, Susan.
Thanks, Lorelei. I ditto what Laurie says. Meditation, I think, can be really, really helpful. And it's okay if you fall asleep, because when you're healing, when you're grieving, a lot of times that's where that really kind of comes in, is when you're asleep, especially when you've got that busy mind going. It's when you're actually at sleep and your mind and your body's at rest that healing, that integration of all of the things that are going on can happen. So I would say to keep trying the meditation. I really like Yoga Nidra. It's a guided meditation, and it's actually called Yoga Sleep. So I'll put a link in the chat. I have a YouTube channel that has some on there. You're welcome to try those, or I know Amazon Prime, Spotify. I mean, there's a lot of yoga nidra out there. Another organization that I think could be really helpful for you is called Y12SR, and they have online as well as in person. And I did check, they do have some in Alaska, but it's a blending of the 8 limbs of yoga with the 12 steps of recovery. So it's kind of a combination of a recovery meeting as well as some mindful movement and some guided meditation. So that could be really helpful on your healing journey too. But thank you so much for sharing with us and for allowing us to be a part of your journey. I'm very grateful.
And I'll just pop in. You can also do walking meditation. And then since your mind might do better to have an active pattern that's happening. So like they were suggesting, some of them have an action, or I used to count like 100 down. And every time I thought of anything else besides the counting, I had to go back to 100. And so like, they're just ways of getting your mind to go silent. All right, go ahead, Henry.
That sounds great. I do something similar, Laureli, to the counting. Yeah, because my mind can get very active too. Very anxious. It can get very anxious. So, Lacey, I had to go and feed my absolutely darling little Maltese. So I didn't hear some of what was said to you, actually a lot of what was said to you. So I hope that I am not repeating, and if I am repeating, that it just serves to reinforce. So I pulled the 5 of Fire. This is a really great card. 5s are usually conflict. But I love Joanna Powell Colbert's, how this is a fire eater. So really somebody who's blowing up fire, right? And then I pulled the Builder. And so the sense I'm getting is that you're up to the task, more than up to the task. Because the Builder in a regular deck is the Emperor. And the Emperor is a very, very powerful card. And not just powerful because it's somebody who's just gotten a lot of authority by virtue of being the Emperor, but also somebody who's gone through the trials and tribulations to gain that power. So it's a power that's earned, if you will. And that would be you. And then you're going through these trials and tribulations. But if you don't know that you're the Emperor, then you can go through this like, I'm at the mercy of this. Does that make sense to you? And you can so focus on this is happening to me that this gets neglected. So what these cards tell me to tell you is for you to step into your power, because there's no question that you're powerful. I mean, I'm looking at you, I can see it in your face. I mean, yeah, I mean, I heard most of what you said, and you may not be super present to it while you're talking about where it hurts, but it doesn't mean that you don't have this power. Do you agree with that you're very powerful?
I think it can be.
Well, exactly. That's all it takes, right? If you say it can be, that means there are times when you are, doesn't it? Well, excellent. So build on that, own that, and you'll find it is so much more rewarding to build out your power than to suffer over what you're suffering. Now, some of the suffering, there's nothing you can do about it. It just keeps showing up. It's just like one of my dogs died a month ago, and that suffering shows up and it shows up. And then I have to experience it while I have to experience it, and then I return to my power. So that's what I recommend for you. And I pulled some other interesting cards, the Tall Tale, which is, it's not tarot, the Higher View. And I'm holding them so that when you look back on this recording, you can see them. And then the Spirit of Gratitude. So the Tall Tale, how I interpret that is that there's a long story, and I don't mean story as in something made up or not true or not meaningful or important, but there's a long story. This is often what's going on with intergenerational trauma. And
Oops. See if that signal comes back in. Oh, yeah, Henry's been popping in and out a little bit tonight. Sorry, happened right in the middle. Henry might be right back in to finish up. I guess, Lacey, is there anything you want to say about just all that you've heard tonight? I know you've heard a lot.
No, right now I'm just kind of trying to take it all in, but I appreciate everybody's feedback, and now I'm going to look through the chat and try to parcel out some of that stuff too. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it doesn't look like Henry's back in quite yet. So, all right, maybe Henry can finish back up in the chat when Henry gets back in. All right. Thank you again so much. Your first time for looping in and letting us support you.
May I speak up, please?
Sorry, who is this?
This is Vida.
Oh, sorry, Vida. We have just the panelists.
Thank you.
But there's a way that you can share. We have the attention to stay with the panelists, but Lacey's getting finished. And if you want, you can chat and see if Lacey's interested in hearing what you want to share, and then go ahead and share with Lacey. That's great. All right. Thanks, Lacey. I'll go ahead and move you off spotlight. All right, great. All right, and I'll put some of that guide. I know people come in later, and I got to put more information in here so people know how this all works. All right, Jasmine. Jasmine, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, great. Now I got to find where you are. Oh, and Henry's back. Oh, 1 second. Henry's back here. Let's just, before we go, let's see if Henry, did you want to,
Yeah,
middle.
Yeah, I would love to just complete it. Thank you. So the tall tale I see, I'll see if I can really truncate this, Lacey. The tall tale I see as an invitation to look at your family's, the situation with your family as a narrative, rather than this live thing that is out of your control and that just keeps happening to you, but as a narrative, like as if it were in a book that you can get some distance from, and that you can also explicate in different ways. Like explain to yourself in different ways, because when you cast it in different ways, there's tremendous power in that. Just try it. It's basically shifting your perspective on it, but not because your perspective is wrong, but because you want to get a different response from yourself. Then a higher view, that would be the invitation of how to shift this narrative to a higher view, rather than that you're inside of the story. Take a bird's eye view of the story of your family and what everyone is doing and how that affects you. Take a bird's eye view. And then this is always wonderful advice, the spirit of gratitude, because you can approach this as something that hurts you, and no question it does. And you can still okay, so if I encounter this, if I were to encounter this with the spirit of gratitude, how would that change things? So rather than saying, I'm not inviting you to say, I'm not at all inviting you to say, I should be grateful, count my blessings. Not at all. I'm saying this can be a tool. If I approach this with the spirit of gratitude, how does it change? How does this give me more power? How does this give me more embodiment, more presence? Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate at all?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, great. So glad you made it back, Henry, and thanks again, Lacey. All right. Okay, Jasmine, we're really ready now.
Okay. So I'm just gonna follow suit. I'll just explain, what kind of has happened, and then just ask for a little bit of guidance. So I've had anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember, starting when I was a child. We moved around a lot, so we really didn't have any roots. I do not know the paternal side of my family. So I don't know who my dad is, but luckily I did have somebody step up pretty early on, and he is now who I call my dad. He is an alcoholic. He's a narcissist. And my mother was on the receiving end of all of that. So I had to watch that a lot growing up. Physical altercations, a lot of verbal and emotional abuse. And then when I got a little bit older, I was sexually abused multiple times. And then just a few years ago, I had lost a really close friend. I called him my brother, so that sums up our relationship. And then ever since then, I have been trying to heal all of my wounds, generational, past, whatever needs healing, I am trying to work on. So yeah, I think that's about. Oh, I myself suffer from substance abuse. I've been clean for almost a year. So that probably has a lot to do with how I don't want to say how I process, but that's something that I do to kind of not think about all of the pain and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jasmine.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know you were here once before, so thanks so much for coming back and
Yeah.
letting us be here with you.
Thank you.
And I'm, I guess, is there anything in particular that you want, like specific thing that you want support in, or?
Yeah, I struggle with trust. I have severe trust issues. I've been married to my husband for almost 10 years and I still can't seem to say that I trust him. And that's no fault of his. I don't know where that stems from. Also, the self-love. I have a huge problem knowing how to love myself.
Okay, I'm glad I asked. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you guys are more than welcome to ask questions for sure.
Great, great. Maybe I'm just gonna say a little bit about trust and then Eva's going. I play with trust in a different way than a lot of people. So one thing is, like, I believe that trust is built and it grows, or, it doesn't grow over time. Like, so people demonstrate trust. It's not honoring of me to just trust blindly, And then I also trust people to show up the way they've shown up before, with spaciousness that they change. So it doesn't mean that I trust them in the way that we typically think of trust. Like, I don't trust them to be looking out for me. Right? My job is to look out for me. But I trust them to show up as they have in their history. So whatever their pattern is. Right. And so you might trust your husband in certain ways. Trust him
Yeah.
to blah, 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 blah. Right. So just thinking about it differently. All right, great. We've got Eva, Sally, and Audrey. All right, go ahead, Eva.
All right. So I'm hearing the very first things that you said, and of course the anxiety and depression, me too, whole life. Didn't know where it came from. And I'm going to give you an option as far as how to think of it. It is multi-generational, but it's it can be spiritual, but in nature. But for me, I work on mineral balancing. So this is the physical metabolic function of the body, what we're made up of right here. And what a lot of people don't know is that imbalances that can contribute to our chemistry that definitely charges our emotions, they're passed from mother to child in the womb. So imbalances such as copper toxicity and other types of toxins, and imbalance with, right? All of these things can affect hormonal functions. It can affect the way that we think, the way that we feel. And we think, oh, this always runs in my family, Eva. You don't understand. We've always had it. My sisters have it. My brother has it. My mom has it. My grandmother had it. And I'm like, yeah, you're telling the story that proves what I'm talking about. Oh. Does that make sense to a degree?
Absolutely. My mother before me has suffered massive trauma. She's anemic. She has all sorts of circulatory issues. Yeah, I absolutely understand that.
Yeah, and so I don't bring it up in order to give you more depression. So there's a possible way to get it out of the body. That's what I do. But the work is basically mineral displacement. Your body prefers the nutrients that we're supposed to get from our food. But because of how we produce food now, it's a little bit, a lot diminished. I tend to be the master of understatement. It's a lot diminished compared to what it was just, 10 and then 50 years ago. So we're not getting the nutrition that we used to. And this absolutely does affect our ability to think. So copper in particular is prolifically out of balance in 95% of my clients. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of places. And I got to the point where I was working with a psychologist, and she says, Eva, I think I'm going to send all my clients who are depressed to you first to see if it's physical related, and then we'll deal with the fallout of how they've had to compensate their whole life. And me too. I had to learn how to not think the worst of people, not to jump to the conclusions. I got a lot of exercise jumping to conclusions.
I bet you did.
It can contribute to things like road rage.
Oh my gosh, don't even go there with me. Yes, ma'am.
So it can be healed, it can be worked with, and if we can get the body out of the way, the rest of it can follow suit and come back in and develop spiritually. So you do have an option, and I'm complete unless you have more to ask.
Very cool, thank you. So hang on, I do have one question. So out of balance when it comes to minerals, are you talking like whether it's low or high, or like both, like mainly with the copper?
Yeah, it's never about just what's high and what's low individually. It's how they interact together. Because you wouldn't go to the concert just to hear the drummer most of the time.
No, you're correct.
So it's the whole orchestra together. It's not just the steering wheel of the car. It's the everything of the car that matters.
The machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could have copper comes in our water. It comes in our red meats. It comes in a lot with our vegetables, nuts and seeds, right? And peanut butter, right? So you have all commonly, but if we don't have the right amount of zinc and manganese and calcium and all these other things and the right kind, then we can end up with these imbalances where the body says, hey, I don't have what the body needs in order to process out all this copper. So I'm just going to put it here for safekeeping. And guess where it stores it? It stores it in the skin where it can cause itching. And it stores do you have that too?
So I get hives and I like want to itch my legs off as I explain it. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
The other place where the other place where it stores is in the reproductive system. So then we end up with hypothyroidism and with really heavy periods. Sorry guys, we're going to talk menstruals, and even infertility. So all of these things can be related to just
okay. Yeah, because that's actually why I asked, because I have a non-hormonal copper IUD. So that is my main reasoning for asking.
Yes.
It's okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks. I appreciate that we're willing to talk about everything in our events, right? We got to do it.
Yep.
All right, Sally and then Audrey.
Okay. Hi. So when you were talking about trust issues and looking at these cards, which I just got this deck, and this deck is just, it does not mess around. So what it's making me feel like is that the trust issues you have within yourself. So in other words, you crave adventure, you crave passion, you crave these things. And because you almost don't trust yourself, that you constantly want, I'm not saying that you would ever go outside of the relationship, but it's like in your mind, sometimes you kind of crave more than what you have. That is what's stemming your trust with this person. So they haven't really done anything to you, but in your mind, you're like, if I'm thinking this way, then they're thinking this way. And if they're thinking this way, it's a problem because I know I won't do anything, but if they might, right? But it's human. I don't know anyone that's in a relationship that doesn't think like, what, you know what I mean? Look, I can see but I can't touch type of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Feeling it's from. Sometimes you get bored. Sometimes you get, you feel like you're stagnant or something, or it's just these feelings. But I feel like with this Four of Wands card, this is really the foundation of your solid, stable home. Okay. And it's really telling me that you have this secure, stable home. Okay. And it's like, this is what the center of the whole reading. when I got this also, this Knight of Swords, this is someone who comes in and out of your life. So it can be that in your youth, you had these men that came in and out of your life. And because of that, it's another reason why you don't trust this person, because you're waiting for him to flee, or you're waiting for him to kind of, you know, just do what you think he's going to do. But these cards are really awesome. We got beauty, inner child, and self-sabotage. Okay. It's, again, you're not having the self-confidence, you're not having the self-worth that you need to realize how beautiful you are. You know, your inner child issues coming to light, and self-sabotage. You're your own worst enemy. You continually sabotage, you know, every happy thought that you have, because there's a part of you that just doesn't think that you deserve it. All right. But you do, you deserve it, and you have it. So you just have to really work on understanding that everybody has those moments when they, you know, find somebody else attractive, or they, you know, might think somebody else is prettier than them, or what, she's so much prettier than me. Like, why would he want to be with me instead of, you know what I mean? And I just think that that's normal. And I really feel like that's where your trust issues are coming from, within your own self-worth and with your own self satisfaction, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I hope that helps.
It actually does, because with the trust, that's how I evaluate me not being able to trust him. Because if I put myself, you know, alone at a bar and somebody was, you know, flirting with me, I wouldn't be able to resist. I am a Cancerian. I am all about passion and that moment. That's exactly it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, go ahead, Audrey.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I feel that you have this very beautiful energy about you. Since one last time I talked to you, or we were in the same Zoom, I also feel that you have this very beautiful energy. It's kind of like you know, a rainbow color flower. And then so today, since we're talking about this topic, I drew 3 cards of different colors of chakras. I have the green, red, and blue. And then also, well, I will get to it in a second. Also, in the astrology, it says South Node in the 11th house in Sagittarius. So this first card, that is green, it says gossip of the heart chakra. So it tells me, the spirit guide tells me that the insecurities, or when you were at home, when you felt traumatized, it probably came from the different energy that was in and out of the family, or probably people, you know, friends, when you went to school, or just when you were young, when you were a child. You probably felt like, oh, you couldn't really trust somebody, what they said, you know, like, oh, they were constantly changing, you know, so that was very testing to your own sense of, oh, how should I believe anybody, you know, so that kind of laid the foundation. But you know, I think that we, as souls, we choose our family. We come into this world. We may choose, you know, a certain mom, a certain dad, so that we can have the necessary experience that we need. But the spirit guide says that kind of gossiping, or the unreliable messaging, or from different people who are coming in and out of your life, that was just a part of the facilitated stage that you wanted to work on. But your lessons really go much, much deeper. So this is your present state, discovery. Discovery goes deeper to your Kundalini. So it tells you that your life is very passionately discovering everything that's around you. Whether they're, you know, speaking the truth, a very wise person, or some kind of flaky people, liars, or anybody, you are learning to discover things, and you're learning to test yourself with the wisdom, with the knowledge. Okay, so very quickly, so this last card is a blue card that says workaholic. The blue card is really about the third eye, again, the processing of our intellect, and then also knowing the integrity of the knowledge of the information that we receive. And workaholic just means that you need to you know, relentlessly pursuing that mental intellectual process. So yeah, please don't worry about the, I must have been bruised when I was young, or I must have been disabled, or I'm totally handicapped, because you're not. Deep down inside, you still have that beautiful soul. Maybe sometimes we'll forget, or we get tired, and then we say, oh, I'm just too tired to work hard, or I'm too tired to live on. But deep down inside, you still have that beauty in you. So
Thank
that's
you. The tired really struck a chord with me, because that's how my depression comes. It comes in bouts of sleeping. So this will definitely help me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's see. Who else wants to share? Oh, Wendy. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, we got to find that hand for you. Go.
No, thank you so much.
Stop.
Hey, Jasmine. Thanks so
Hi.
much for sharing. Hey, something that stuck out to me in your share was when you were talking about moving. Can you share a little bit more about moving? Was it a lot of moving? Was it?
Oh yeah. So we moved, let me just give you the rundown. So I was born in California. We moved to Pennsylvania. We moved to Michigan. We moved to Florida. We moved back to Pennsylvania, and now back to California.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Tremendous amount of change, right? And so, like, one of the things about moving, it's little known, but it is very common to experience grief, loss, and heartbreak from a move. A move. So like you having
7.
like a list of moves, you're like, it's a lot to go through, because you're going through the world. You're taking, you're assessing, you're packing up, you're getting over, you're logistifying, all the things. And losses and changes are what moving is all about. So I would like to just acknowledge that that's a lot to go through and gather a life experience around, in addition to all the life experience you've gathered around. All right. So really just want to acknowledge that that is something that you go through, and that is, moving is something, even when it's great, can still engender feelings of grief and loss.
I did have one question. Is that, you think that's probably the reason, like, the change has become, it's because when I moved, I have never missed somebody. You know what I mean? That
Like
I've
you didn't
never
move away from
experienced.
a person, or?
Yeah. Like, so like all my friends, family that lived there, did not cry. There was nothing. So
Here's what I'll share based on like the 1 minute that we're talking about this, is that I want to encourage you that every relationship is different, and you're going to grieve different things. Like you may have grieved California different than you've grieved Florida. So like every relationship is different, and you can't do it wrong if you're feeling your feelings.
yeah, I've grieved the security. I'll tell you that. That is the one thing that I did. You know what I mean? The normalcy. Yeah. My routine, all of it.
Yeah. Yes. Routine is huge. Totally huge.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jasmine, so much. Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry. What
you.
else were you going to say?
I just do have one more thing. I feel like I've grieved it, but I'm not sure if it's grieving it or pushing it down. The death of my brother. So it happened just in October of this year, or last year. And I'm to the point where I can talk about it and not cry, but I get really angry, and then I get sad, and then I kind of think about it all day, and like, how was he feeling, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a couple of things for you to try on. It's actually 6 things, but they'll go in like 2 sets of 3. Just scan for like, what did I want to be different or better or more?
See, even that makes me want to cry.
There it is. So you might have something there. And I'll just give the other one just for giggles in the recording. And that, I mean, giggles and grief, that's so awful. But different, better, and more. And the other is, what were your hopes, dreams, and expectations around your relationship with your brother? It's going to be different. And it may come at different times. I'm going to like let you know that, like, please try to allow it if you can, just to see what's there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I just put in the chat the cycle of grief. It's like all these different stages of grief, and like in theory, right, it might go in a linear order, and it doesn't. And it's a comical perspective on that. And one thing that occurred to me when you shared about all the moves and how you didn't connect with, or like I was saying, you didn't have the experience of grieving or missing anyone. I was just wondering if part of you had the experience growing up that no one was there for you, that you could trust people to not be there for you, and so you didn't form relationships.
Yeah, actually, I kind of I had to grow up really fast because my parents were always working and kind of enjoying themselves and stuff like that. So yeah, I've learned to rely on myself at a very, very, very young age. Not to mention my mother has totally ingrained in our heads that we don't need anybody else. We don't need anybody else to survive, to take care of us, because she didn't have anybody.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you learned this, right, and felt this so much in her too. And just when we're in utero, in our moms, right, we pick up all the emotional waves, all the chemicals that are.
My
in
mom
them.
had a
So,
very,
like,
very, very rough.
we're so bathed in that. And someone made a reference to this earlier, and I almost wrote it down, but it was so what's it like for you to say, I trust me? Do you trust yourself? I trust me.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know.
So what is something where you trust yourself? I trust myself too, or I trust myself about.
I trust myself to make decisions for myself. I cannot make decisions.
I just want to encourage you not to put something else on it. Just say, I trust myself to make decisions for myself.
Okay. Trust myself to make decisions for myself.
How does that feel?
It feels kind of empty.
Okay, pick something else simpler, like where you feel it more.
I don't know.
Yeah, so this is something to explore and find. And I encourage you to start like super, super simple. Like you say, I trust my hair to stay in my scalp. Like just start with anything. And
okay, so like I could be like, I trust myself to go outside because I love to be outside and I always go outside and that's my safe space and I love it.
Yes.
I definitely trust myself to do that because I know I will do that.
Yes. And feel what that's like in your body. Yeah.
It feels really good. And like my heart is like swelling and radiating.
Great. Great.
Thank you.
All right, Audrey and Sally.
Okay, just a quick ad. When you said that you are really curious about your brother, so I very quickly asked to connect with him and see how he's doing. So, spiritually, he gave me a card for vocabulary, and that says faith in a purple card. So, he is in a very quiet place spiritually, at a very high level of the Akashic library, or the high-rise building over there. And he is, digging deep into his own faith, trying to discover his own spiritual understanding. And so, of course, that means a very beautiful thing. He's doing well, very quiet, no sadness, or, so that is his development. And I asked him if he has anything to say to you and how he felt about your relationship with each other. And this is soulmate. This is what he said. So he really felt that he feels that the two of you are like soulmates with each other, two peas in a pod. So that's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah,
Thank you
that's
so
all.
much.
Right, go ahead, Sally. Thanks, Audrey.
So it's weird because earlier I did a live on my Facebook and there was a young guy there, probably like in his 20s. And I said, I don't know who this person's for. Maybe he's here a little early. So it could have been your friend because nobody claimed him. But I got these cards that says I'm standing right next to you and I had to leave that way. Okay. So it makes me feel like he's with you. Also, I had to leave that way. I just feel like the struggle for him in the physical world was a little too much for him to handle. He just enjoyed having fun, and he enjoyed living his life the way that he wanted to live his life. And he's making no apologies about how he lived his life. You know, it didn't end the way he wanted it to, of course, but he's saying that he has no apologies for the way he lived his life. He's making me feel like you two were like ride or die. You spent a lot of time together. He's telling me that you need to, like, you know, kind of snap out of it, realize how much life you have left, how much you've fought to get to where you're at, and that you can't continue to live in the past because you'll miss the future. You'll never enjoy the future. Continue to live in the past. And that's what his message is for you, very strongly. But he wants you to remember all the good times you had together. I don't know, driving in a car, listening to music. That's how he's making me feel, you know, just that free feeling of you just having fun. But he's telling me it's very important for you to stop focusing on the past because you're missing the present and you're definitely going to miss the future if you have to snap out of it, is kind of what he's saying, you know. And I think that's what he would say if you were here, like, come on, snap out of it, go.
Absolutely. He was the most fun person, spontaneous. He's a Sagittarius, so he's always up for adventure.
That might be what the car is about. Like, let's get in the car, we'll take a ride, you know, let's go.
Car. That so that's actually how he died.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't want to go too deep into that because I don't have a lot of time, and also I didn't want to be too sensitive, but yeah, he was definitely in the car, loud music. So that might be what he's stepping forward also, kind of to like acknowledge and kind of take his part in that, and, you know, stepping forward with his acknowledging his part in his passing for sure, and his behavior. But again, he's not apologizing for the life he lived. Like he's saying he went up with a bang, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how he's making
him.
Yeah,
Dante, gosh. And he is, you are right about the age. He's about 24.
I think he's been here all night long.
I love
just
him.
waiting for this event, because earlier I'm thinking, I kept saying, who is this person for? Who's this person for? And no one was claiming him. And I'm like, well, he's here and he's been here all night. So that makes sense. He was ready for you way before this started.
Oh my gosh. And everything he said, I felt like I knew in my heart. And I haven't told anybody because that's mine to keep.
Yeah. And sometimes it stinks when it comes out in like private, you know, public like this, but
I'm so grateful.
Definitely need to hear the message, you know what I mean? Because he's very loud, and yeah, I think he's the one that was here earlier. He's funny.
Oh my gosh, he is so funny.
Yeah, he's funny.
I appreciate you. I'll be getting in contact with you later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me read for you.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have anything else to share with Jasmine? We're checking in. Thank you so much, Jasmine. You're getting appreciation from people in the chat. So I want to let you know.
Oh, thank you. I'll take a look.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. It's lovely to have you back again. I'm so happy we could be here with you.
Me too. Thank you so much. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate this. All of your classes, not just this one.
You're very welcome. All right. And we've got another question from, I can't remember how to pronounce your name. Is it Joey or Joy or?
Hi, it's Joy.
All right, Joy.
It's okay. I've gotten Joey my whole life. So I'm cool with it. I'm comfortable. So I had a lot of like, so many feelings came up and a lot of similarities to what everyone spoke of tonight. And so I had to start writing things down. But I can really relate to Jasmine's childhood life. I moved around so much that I couldn't tell you the address that I had at age 9. I don't know, like I have memories of places and things and people, but I moved around so much that my memory falters. I was raised by a mother who is undiagnosed to my knowledge, possibly diagnosed somewhere along her life, but either ignored it or avoided it. And so I've just been shifting and moving from one unstable place to another unstable place my whole life. So I can totally relate to that feeling. I was sexually abused by people that my mother dated that were supposed to be father figures in my life, or family members that were supposed to be, like I'm like on this lifeboat trying to survive as a kid. And these are the people that are supposed to be helping and not harming. So I've had a lot of that kind of harm in my development, which kind of makes me grieve for my inner child a lot as an adult. I am constantly just fighting against these inner child's like needs that I have as an adult. And it's hard because it makes for a sometimes obnoxious person as an adult, especially to my partner. But it's something I'm working through and something that he's aware of. So, but when I was 18, I was able to do my own, have my own story. But then at that point, it kind of led me into shifting my life and changing course all the time. And I worked on boats. And so I was able to travel a lot and go from place to place. And this time it was my choice to do that. So it was fun and lots of cool adventures that happened through that. But I was also not being present. I was not accepting the grief that I had. It was just weighing me down all the time. I would drink and hang out with people that weren't necessarily my friends. And I had a lot of those moments where I would come to and be like, these aren't people that are here for me. And I recently had a child who will be 2 next month. And that has caused me, the past 2 years, I'm sure the pandemic has done this for everybody, but I have come to a screeching halt in my life. And it has been an amazing experience. I'm so thankful for her existence. And she was a surprise. She definitely chose me and her dad to come and, she woke us both up. We were both free spirits. I swear she chose us, and she's in charge of everything we do. So I'm fully aware that she has picked us. But I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a teenager. I also don't know my biological father, but I had a stepfather that stepped into my life at one point, and he was like, look, I choose you as my child. You choose me as your daughter. I'm here for you, whatever you need. I struggled with ADHD. Let's get you on Ritalin. Let's, take you to a doctor's appointment. I believe I was misdiagnosed with ADHD because this year I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I'm learning so much about PTSD and about sexual trauma and childhood trauma that I'm realizing I have all of these symptoms, and now I feel empowered because I'm like, oh, I can actually take control of all of these things that I'm doing to myself. My memory problems, my, just lack of self-discipline, stuff that, or just inability to face things head on, things, little things that I now feel like I can control, as opposed to feeling like I was wired a different way from the start. So, yeah, and I also went through a lot of feeling like I needed to care for my mom because she had a mental breakdown when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. And it was traumatizing. She moved all of our stuff, which we had just moved months prior, into a grocery store, into the seating area of a cafe of a grocery store, which was horribly traumatic as a child, to walk back and forth with my mom as she's packing up our things and unpacking in a store. It was horrible. And this, security guard who had been so kind and awesome to us before this happened, was now like, you gotta go, I'm calling the police. And so that event happened, and I was nearly a teenager. And so I had already been protective of my mother because I had so many adults in my life saying, oh, your mom's a mess, or your mom's crazy, but you're gonna be great. And at that point I was like, I gotta protect mom. Whatever I do in life, I have to protect my mom. And so I have the mother wound, which I've heard about, because my mom, although she's loving and caring and spiritual, she's on a different in a different reality. And she's someone who blames others and cannot see her own problems. And I see parts of that coming up for me. And it's terrifying to think that I could become my mom. So anyway, I guess the questions that I have are about breaking cycles, so that my amazing child can grow up and be a well-adjusted adult without having to go through a lot of the steps that I've had to like kind of force myself into. And I know that Henry said that it was something that kind of passed on from my mom, which is, you know, for me, I'm like horrified to think that my cycles are going to be passed on to her. I just want to know that I can raise a strong enough person that can deal with it and stride and not have to worry about it. So kind of me not stressing about passing on bad habits or trauma to my child through my own kind of figuring out my healing, and how to continue my healing so that I can access my higher self. I have a very lofty and ridiculous goal in my life that I believe I can achieve, involving storytelling and just a complete career shift for myself. And I feel it in my soul. So I'm like, I want to show my child that I can have gone through all of this and achieve my goals and become someone that is disciplined and strong and going to be a great role model for her. So I guess I think I've covered it all. It's a lot. But yeah, I guess also I struggle with fawning a lot. I will imitate other people's personalities because it was a survival technique that I picked up along the way. And I dealt with a lot of narcissists. So for me, it was really a survival skill because there was abuse and fear and just no stability. So I fawn a lot. My partner mentions it a lot. And he's like, hey, so I wasn't with you in the room. I was with you or your sister and then a copy of your sister, or, you know, things like that. And that drives me to have imposter syndrome, not know who I am and not feel like I can proceed in life as an adult because I'm stuck and I freeze and I, you know, all of these things. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's great. And I appreciate that you pulled it down to a specific question. We've got a group of people in wine, and I'll say just a few things I'll share first. I often can see attention deficit stuff in people's eyes, and I agree that I don't see it in you. One talent that you have that's similar, and it's a talent, it's got great qualities, but a lot of people mislabel it as ADD. It's called artisan. It's about freedom, creativity, pleasure, and energy. It's about exploring the edges of what exists to bring in new ideas and experiences. So there's attention in all these places all the time, because if it's boring, well, heck. Or like there's a question, well, there's an answer, and they've got a good answer. Right? So this is a natural thing. It's a talent. It's a great thing that contributes. And it's got lessons too, but also I was going to say, I think your 3 talents in order are scholar, priest, priestess, and artisan. Maybe it could be priest, priestess, artisan, scholar, but I'm leaning something like that. And but I'm pretty sure you have priest, priestess second. I just think it's a lot of self-judgment, lessons for a lot of self-judgment and being hard on oneself. And yeah, and I don't think it's a wild, crazy goal. You totally can tell your stories. You're doing a great job telling your stories tonight. And yes, and so given that you're pre-second and that your tendency is to go so inwards and be harder on yourself, it's being loving on yourself, being encouraging of yourself, speaking to yourself as encouragingly as you speak others. that's really the way to keep growing and to love yourself and keep asking these questions and letting yourself feel. These are the ways to have it be so different for your daughter. And how old is your daughter?
She'll be 2 on August 21st.
So she's still super young, and the first 2 years are super important, and that you're going through all this growth right now is great. And yeah, just keep loving you and not worrying so much, and you're totally doing great. All right, we've got, and I'm just going to shift the order up just a little bit. He's done. Let's have Henry, and then Eva, and then Sally and Audrey. And we've got one more question, so hopefully some of us will so we'll go quickly, but hopefully some of us might stay a little bit later and do our one more question afterwards. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Joey, right?
Joy.
I'll go by Joey too. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I remembered it, but the opposite, which is my dyslexia. So while you were talking, I was just laying down cards. I work off 2 different decks right now, a tarot deck and a wonderful oracle deck that I came into possession of recently. And I don't do that often, that I keep laying down cards, but I know now why, because you're a storyteller. So I kept having to lay down cards so that it could just tell the story. And I'm going to send you the picture so you can see it. It's like 2 different decks, and it's going up and down and across, and things being added. So I feel this is telling your story. But before I get into that, I just want to say that, yes, epigenetics is real. I'm gonna, Laureli, is it okay if I send a link out for the?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. I was a geneticist. It's totally real.
Yeah, it's totally real. Okay, so let me. Okay, so there's a link now to epigenetics from Psychology Today. It's sort of like a primer. There is a lot more, and there's also different opinions on it. Like, I mean, different people see that in different ways. So it's really worth looking into. Because you got that from your mom, who got it from her mom, who got it from her mom. I mean, we're talking like, I don't know, like 100,000 generations of epigenetics. So it's not like this one bad thing. It's part of, just like DNA, it's part of who we are. And if something very traumatic happened, then that can be pointed out as like if you're like, for example, I have PTSD from my mom experiencing war. So I literally deal with that. And so, and there's wonderful ways of dealing with that. And you probably have come across some of them. I think being a chameleon is one of the ways of dealing with that. And the positive of that is that it's like when you're an actor, you are imitating somebody's gait to or body language in some way to get into who they are, right? And this is like an insight. So that's an upside. It's a positive of that. So you can always turn it around, right? And also there's things that you've inherited from your mom that help you with your storytelling, because you're saying she's off in another world. So flights of fancy, and like, kind of going outside the box. So the also one other thing on the imposter syndrome. I would say that everyone who says there's something that hasn't been anointed by an authority might have some experience in that. So it's like super normal. And there's just one thing to do, is breathe through it, deep breaths and letting it pass. Because
so when I'm knighted, I can stop having imposter syndrome.
Yeah, like if some massive authority says you're it, but then it'll still come back anyway. It's like, just breathe through it. It'll come back until you say, I'm not having that. I'm not buying into it anymore. And then it'll come back less times, but it'll still come back every now and then. So the story I have is bearing fruit. So beautiful. That's you right now. I don't know if it happened recently or if it's happening tonight. Your awakening is bearing fruit. So it either happened recently and that's why you're on tonight, or it's happening tonight that you're owning your path, that you're now setting yourself on it. And you are going to meet with success with this. very clearly by listening to your muse, and that will bear fruit. And you know, the Empress, that is this wonderful card of creativity and of giving birth. So that's you. And then part of the challenge is mapping your path. And how you do that is by keeping your ears wide open. It's all super literal. It's like ridiculous. And what made me think is that it's tonight is because I got the broken open card. So like it's breaking open right now. And maybe it's breaking opening right now, like right now. And what you're ready for is uncharted seas. Look at this beautiful card. So uncharted seas, usually we think of that as scary, but it's an adventure. You're a storyteller. You are uniquely qualified to be on an adventure. So that's you right there. So you can now like look for psychological or many other ways of supporting that, or you can just go for it. You can just say, that is a reading I got, and I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to go with it. And I will send you that in the chat, the picture of that, so you can kind of peruse it and like let it speak to you. Do you have any other questions about this reading?
No, I think it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I recently decided that I was going to figure out what I want unencumbered by my self-doubt. And so I've decided to, you know, start meditating more and do yoga practices, or at least mindfulness exercises, so that I can focus on myself. Because I had a therapist a few months ago that was helpful in ways that I could check in with myself, but I still felt less heard and more judged, and less like I was dealing with someone that understood trauma and understood the patterns that I chose as an adult because of that trauma. And so, yeah, I mean, this is all happening, has been happening for the past couple of weeks in my life, but I've been feeling it even stronger and stronger and stronger each time that I go into these practices. So it's fabulous.
My overall is you're ready. Off you go.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Henry. All right, Eva.
Hi, Joy. And you just reconfirmed something. I always take notes as someone is sharing, and I wrote down a few things that reflect exactly what you just said, that you experienced in your session with your therapist. But just to start off, really, it comes down to, look, no matter how well we do as parents and read the latest and greatest books, they'll come back as adults and complain about how we raised them. So personal experience. It's also the experience that I had giving my mother, like, hey, you didn't do this right. So the best we can do is control ourselves. You're hitting the nail right on the head. It's like, what can I do here? What can I do right here inside my own body, my choices, my thoughts, my ideas, my set of values, and what do I want to teach my child? That's you know, starting there will help break these cycles. And I wanted to give you something that really helps. It's very simple, about discernment. It's you've had a lot of people from what you shared in your life that have been unsavory characters, a little bit like, you know, that's, I'm an understater, right? So the idea is learning to trust yourself about who you are putting yourself in front of, and who you're encouraging your children to be around, because whoever you're around, they're going to be around too, right? For the most part. So I use this as my guidance. If I feel safe, it's because what I've shared is met with curiosity rather than judgment. And that's what you were talking about in your session. And I think that's a beautiful way to start, and to just let that guide who you go with, and who you allow into your life, because that really does make a difference. Does that help?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And the only other note that I have down is I put it in actually all block letters, so it must mean something. Self-compassion is so important for you. It's okay to have a rough time. It's okay to notice that you're having a rough time, and it's okay for your child to notice that you're going through it too. You don't have to be perfect for them.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really
Yeah.
important last share.
I've done a lot of like the violently optimistic kind of reaction to life and the bad actors in my life, and it's caused for some weird times for sure.
All right. I can't remember what the last thing was I was going to say. It doesn't matter. It was just me being funny. So I'm going to stop now and I'll let someone else talk. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, great. We've got Audrey, then Sally.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, I drew 3 cards for you. I have growth, a miracle, and instinct. All right. So now, in the astrology chart of the hour, we have Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter in your first house. And what that means is that you went through so much in your early life. It is the growth of your life. You know, it's as if you lived 50 years within the first 10 years of your life. It's as if you learn so much. And so the spirit guide says you don't have to compare yourself with other people's standards. You know, maybe other people would say, oh, well, be a child, be happy, or play, go to the playground or do something. But you don't have to live by other people's standards. If you have learned that much, then so be it. And just be proud of yourself and know that all of those experiences, even though as hard as they may seem to you, or looking back, because you're, putting that on other people's standards. And then you may think, oh my gosh, my childhood was very, very difficult. We did all of that labor or, physical running around and all of that. But actually, that was a very positive learning of the heart. Okay, so the period that you're going through right now is miracle. And I feel that that's something that it's like how your life is right now. Maybe it's a child that you have, or, whatever else, other way of feeling content that you do right now. So it's a miracle. As as exciting as that concept is, it's really a miracle in your life now compared to the past. Now, going forward, we have an instinct. So the instinct means that you still want to continue living your life by all the things that you learned from the past, or your courage or your spider sense. Like, oh, is there a danger, or should I stop here, or should I, go fast, or something like that. So your instinct is very, very important. It's as if you have many tentacles, around your head, around your chakras, and so that is your way of survival. But overall, this is how you have planned your life to be. And then I also asked a very quick question about your precious child, how this journey is into the future. And then so guess what okay, so the lady spirit gave me a card. Joy is your name. So that was a very amazing answer. It's a pun. It's to say that it is as good as you want it to be. It is very joyful. She is a joy of your life. That's it.
All right, great. Thanks, Audrey. All right, go ahead, Sally.
Hi. Okay, so first I wanted to say, they say the first step in whatever is admitting you have a problem type of thing. So the fact that you are recognizing this is part of breaking the pattern. So you're already a step ahead by admitting that, you see it and you want to fix it. So that alone is a strong message that most likely will happen. You know what I mean? Because your daughter's 2 and you have so much time to work on that, and you've already realized it. So you already have done not half the work, but a huge step of the work. When I tell you these cards don't lie, what I'm feeling around this is that PTSD, I feel like it has a lot to do with sexual, like, I don't know if it's trauma, even if it's just seeing stuff that went on with your mother. Okay. And I don't want to get too personal, but it makes me feel that you might have experimented with that in ways that have made you uncomfortable, or like made you question if you have the ability to love and be loved the way it is in a healthy manner. Okay, so you might have a problem kind of accepting that also, because before sex could have meant love to you, or sex didn't mean anything to you. You know what I mean? It could have been that extreme where you used it in a different way. Okay. Because I'm getting this lover's card, but I'm also getting it right next to the devil. Okay. That's that addictive, like toxic, relationships in the past. And we also got the sexuality card. So it's like screaming that, this has something to do with it, that it has it to do in some way. But the thing of it is, it can be healthy. And I'm sure that's what you have in your relationship now, but that might be also a thought that you're having for your daughter. Is she going to repeat these patterns? Is she going to not know her self-worth with men? Is she going to, repeat these patterns that maybe your mom also kind of had problems with too? And then I have this 8 of Swords, but this card is the card that tells you, and it's interesting about this 10 of Wands. See this fire down here? It's almost like burning all of that away, burning all of the burdens, like all of the problems. And this 8 of Swords is that card that keeps you trapped within your mind. It is a mental card. So it doesn't even mean that she's not really trapped, but she feels trapped. She's not going to leave that spot because she thinks that's where she's supposed to be. In the traditional tarot, it's someone who's like blindfolded and thinks that they can't get out of the trap that they're in, but really they can. They're the ones that have all of the, control in the situation. So it's almost, again, being like your own worst enemy. Your thoughts are your own worst enemy. Okay. And then just one more card is the procrastination card. So it can be that you just, again, do not follow through with things because of your imposter syndrome, like you said, right? Here's another thing that came to me very strongly. I'm trying not to take too long, but when you're talking about fawning and taking other people's personalities on, why don't you put them as characters in your stories? Okay. Embrace those people and their personalities and make them characters in your stories. And then maybe you can find an outlet to kind of, work through that. And it might be something that you can do if you can, maybe it's something about them that you really admire. It's something that you think would be a good thing. And if you make them into your characters, then you can make them be really anything you want them to be. You can turn them into whatever you want. So that might be helpful. And it might help you stop doing that. But I know exactly what you're talking about. You start to, like, if you move down south, you get their accent. You know what I mean? It's just within a couple of months, you're already talking like you live in the South, right? So it's that kind of adapting. But if you stick them in your stories, I think that would be interesting to see what happens and what you do with that. That's really all. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. I think it would help me separate them from myself, even though I know that they're separate from me, but if fawning is something that I do automatically, it might help me just like, okay, you are separate from.
Yeah, and then you can make them be anything you want them to be. You know what I mean? And it might be just like an outlet to get that out. And why am I fawning after them? Maybe let's make that character around that. Let's figure out why I'm doing this. What do I see about this person that I like? What do I see about this person that I don't like? What kind of character do I want this person to be? And then you can say, well, do I really want to be like that person? Because now I see what they're really like, So it's just an idea.
Yeah. Also, your cards have attacked me. They've attacked me completely.
This deck attacks everyone.
So.
The first time I read with it, I did an interview and I asked it, are you going to be like, a good deck for me? And it said, I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm going to tell you stuff you don't want to know. And I said, oh, no. And it did not lie.
Let's say the scholar, priest, priestess, and artisan talents that you have. Artisan is a chameleon. Right. So part of your survival strategy, right? And so we often, whatever our survival strategies are, we attempt to use them going through, right? It's a learning to let them go. And scholar is really good at learning. So you're good at learning how to change shape. And priest, priestess second in particular wants to be good with their impact on other people around them. So, right, do your survival strategy, right, is molding to other people. And, yeah, it's just a strategy. It's part of you. Right, something in your pocket, something that occasionally grabs the steering wheel and drives the bus, and then it's like, oh, I love you, you got me here and I don't need you anymore, and so you can go towards the back. Yeah, knowing and lovingly, right, allow ourselves to shift. All right, anyone have anything else to share with Joy? Wendy, did you want to Oh, Wendy's got her hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I was like, I should raise just my hand because it's easier to see. I'm so glad, like these last few minutes, Joy, I just kept hearing the word identity, identity, identity in my head. And then these last few minutes, I was like, oh, I need to say something. It's been kind of like around with the characters and the fawning. I used to actually send my representative to events and such sometimes, which I don't think is what you were talking about, but it was funny when you were talking about fawning and characters. I was like, oh yeah, that was it. And in change and a lot of change, even new motherhood, like identity is something that comes up a lot as you like take on new change. So if that's anywhere in your mix, totally normal.
Oh, do you mean am I having an identity crisis right now? Because
or just like the adventure of identity, right? Because if it's like if it's artisanal and it's scholarly, then it's like unfolding, it's continuing.
Yeah, not necessarily a crisis, but like a discovery.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh, Susan, go ahead.
I just have a quick thing to add. One thing that I was similar to Henry's, cards just kept coming. But one that really stands out and that goes is what I give my power to has power over me. So I take it back. I am free to love, live, choose, and be truly me. And so in giving, keeping your power, not giving it to somebody else and copying how they're acting or doing, thinking that you have to be this perfect mom. Another thing that came up here is today I will search for my own truth. I will value the worth of my own vision. We are all on our own paths, making the decisions that are right for us today. All you can do is today. And sometimes we hold ourselves in the patterns of the past and the choices we made in the past, every future trip of what's going to be or what we hope will be. And really all you can do in raising your child and continuing to, live your best life is just what can you do today? What's one thing I can do today to support and hold space for the vision that I have for myself and hold that power for me. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Great. Anyone have anything else for Joy? Laurie, go ahead.
Hey Joy, I do dragon tarot as well, and I drew you a little dragon. You see that very well. He's the aquamarine dragon from Neptune. He enables you to access your deepest soul wisdom. Spiritually and wisdom are available to you. Develop your psychic abilities and receive ineffable soul knowledge. So you're supposed to go on a little journey to find out who you are and where you're supposed to head. I see a lot of good stuff coming for you, and you're on the right track. Just the fact that you're here asking these questions, wanting to heal, wanting to be the perfect mom for your daughter. I mean, that says a lot. You don't want to, you want to end that cycle. So good for you. And you know what, like your others have said on the panel tonight, your daughter's young enough and you're at a point where you're wanting to heal and you're learning and you're growing. You're not going to make those same mistakes. You're already aware. So you're already halfway there. Good for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joy.
Thank you all. Seriously, this was amazing. I feel like I owe all of you $100. You all gave me so much.
You're being service to so many that are here. Service to all of us by being here and allowing us to share with you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All righty, let's see. So we've got one more question. We've got Dina. All right, let me get, okay, so Dina. Oh, all right. So you want to be up on Spotlight or you want to, you might, I know. Okay. Yeah. So I can't spotlight you if you don't turn on your video, and it's fine for you to not be spotlighted. We talked about, yeah, to keep your video.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Sure, that's fine.
So I don't want to be spotlight. It's a little hard for me to even share this story. Thank you for, providing this service. And so kind of my story. And I wanted to say that a lot of people who shared gave me some, courage to even open up. And then also part of me opening this is me having problem today. So as I was just, tuning with you guys, I was like, I need to solve this thing, or not solve, but try to get, whole of something out or so. So I'm going to share that this is a little personal. I have not shared it with even my mom. So, so that's why my video is off. And so what it is that it's so hard to share. And I hope no judgment. That's the worst thing that I am scared about. And I struggle with myself about this because maybe it's hard for me to even think about it or so. But so I've been having OCD thing going on with, it's kind of like it's a relationship based. So anything that is, so I'm gonna share the background in a way where, so I, coming from Southeast Asia background, like, I have like a high value system in a way, like, my values are different than others maybe in a way. So my value was like, I'm not gonna have, I don't know how, intimate relationship or sex before marriage, right? So that was kind of my value, or like my thing in my head when I was growing up. And so basically I had intimate relationship or something, or sex, whatever. So with the guy, and what happened was I kind of felt maybe obviously that value got attacked. Like, okay, now like, I'm doing it against this thing where, this is very based on right and wrong. And and just to give you guys what the scenario is, right and wrong. I grew up thinking, valuing this is right, this is wrong, and this is wrong. So basically, I kind of had a little bit of trauma or so that time afterwards, because it was hard for me to accept it. So what happened was that, and I kind of like, I cried it out, and I experienced whatever I felt, and then I moved on. I'm not moved on, but I shared with the guy that I, had an intimate relationship in a way with, and going on, like, it happened again. So basically happened few times or something with, there was a relationship for a year or so. And so basically, sorry, it's hard to like, okay. And so basically,
it's okay. Take your time and share it however you want to share it. It's okay.
Okay. Basically, so I started having this OCD thing where, I guess maybe part of me was like, this is bad. Part of me was like, I kind of want this thing because my body was also, wanting it, but my mind is like, this is bad. And so basically, and in the history of the OCD, I did had a little bit of OCD where, like, like fearing for God, like what if my, if I had to do this rituals in a way where when I'm praying to God so that my family would be safe or something. There was a little bit of tiny bit of it, but now this time, this thing is like kind of big thing. So basically I started having kind of OCD ritual thing going on around that time. And I never shared with that guy. Later on, after like we broke up after 2 years or so, I did share a little bit of it just to get it out of my chest. But I'd never shared it with the person when I was having a relationship with the guy. So this thing goes on now. Sorry.
It's okay. Taking deep breaths. That's good. It's okay.
It's been 10 years or so. That relationship is over. Right now, I'm having problems in a way where, sorry.
It's okay. Yes, take your time. Stay connected to yourself, touch yourself, feel your body, and let yourself breathe into your belly as much as you can. I've had OCD. You're not alone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I now have OCD problems, not with any relationship, but it's more like when somebody at my work, basically, when people come too close. So basically, I get triggered to get this ritual done, this is like, doing something kind of like to purify myself. So basically, what my thought pattern was to purify myself. Sorry, it's so hard to share because it's very...
It's okay. It's okay. Just say as much as you can, but I think we're getting maybe the idea of what's here. And I'm imagining it's not only that it's here and that you feel so much urgency and maybe it's a repeating, but maybe it's also something that's hard on you.
So today I was trying to do something, a chore, and obviously that the chore that is also related with the ritual. So I was trying to feel all that pain that I feel, like part of myself was saying that I need to do the ritual, and saying that I was trying to feel all that pain. I said, I accept you, I hear you, and then but I had to kind of like, it didn't go away. What I was trying to do was like feel all the pain in a way where whatever that part of me was kind of sharing at that moment when I was triggered to do the ritual. And then it, but still, like, it's hard. And then I was stuck in that the energy in the daytime, where I was just trying to get help. Like, I'm not to get help. I was calling this lady about this hypnosis therapy and maybe I'm going to get it. I'm not sure yet 100%, but part of me wants to get it. Part of me maybe has a resistance. So the story of it, I guess, is that I deal with it. And then kind of like the big question that I had at that moment was, sometimes it's easy for me to understand it, and then it makes it a little easier for me to process or handle it. So I was just trying to understand, why am I in this journey? What is this experience for? If my spiritual, what is spirit? I mean, my soul, I don't know if my soul decided this path or not. I have no idea, but maybe it's ancestral, or not ancestral, like my past life wound. I don't know if this life, obviously this life wound also, but I was like, kind of wanted to understand why I had this experience, or why am I having this painful experience where I'm doing the ritual. I wanted to kind of not do it because it's hard for me to be working, and I understand. Part of me, I honor that part. I have a lot of boundaries at work, and I actually say to the people, like, I don't like, people touching me. So I do that, but then yet it gets harder. And I mean, part of me, it doesn't matter if they're touching me, but then part of me is like, no, this is, I guess it triggers that past trauma or something, and then, I kind of, it just tells me like, I need to do this ritual so that I can calm down, and so I feel pure. So So all of this, I want to understand why is it happening, or what is if there is any lesson to it. But then I guess I'm in a verge of like trying to maybe get away with, get done with it, but not in a way like saying that, I want to embrace that part, yet heal that part. So not like, oh, I don't care about you, you're saying bullshit, not like that. I want to hear everything what it has to say. And yes, part of it was shame and guilt. When I was in the morning, I was trying to feel what was it, and I felt there was a shame and guilt, for myself, obviously, for, not for another person, but shame and guilt was one, not for myself, but like shame and guilt and that whole thing. But like I guess at this point, I'm just trying to understand what is going on energetically, and if there's any lesson that my soul or whatever is, or if it's, I guess it may be ancestral or it's a past life or whatever it is. And then any guidance you guys have for me to, I guess, feel whole and complete. That's what I want to do, is be whole and complete and love myself unconditionally. But I know it is a journey. It is not easy to remove all those conditions, which which made me safe, maybe. Yeah, sorry. Long rant.
Okay. I just want to say too that we're at the end of the time we had scheduled. So there's some practitioners that won't be able to stay. There's some I'm going to have share first so they can share before they leave. And then there are others of us that are staying. So you know what's going on. So if any practitioners that have to leave, if you have something you want to share, go ahead and do that. But if you have to leave, that's okay. But please just share again your name, your modalities, and how people can reach out to you on the web. So it's on the video before you go, and then we'll be answering Dina's questions. All right, so anyone, go ahead, Eva, if you can.
Hi, Dina. Thank you for sharing all of this. And I was listening intently to what you were saying. And one of my gifts is the ability to kind of delve underneath everything that's being said and hear a message. And I wrote down lots of structural damage. Damage may be a strong word, but that just came out. So the idea of feeling as though you might be damaged, is that a general feeling of what you have of yourself, that you're having trouble overcoming all of these things that you've been through?
I don't think it's a damaged feeling. A part of me is pure and whole and complete, and not complete, like innocent, like a child. I know that in a way, but part of me, I guess, the value system was so high that the action that I did was considered unpure. So I want to be pure. I guess my value system is like, I am pure. So I wouldn't say broken, but I would.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Broken, but a sense of being damaged. That. So what I wrote down was that what you were, when especially when we're very young and we're dependent upon those people to provide us with a sense of livelihood, food, shelter, clothing, a feeling of love and care, all of those needs, and that you're met with judgment instead of with, something that matches your own value system. It's a transgression against our free will. It really does. It creates that sense of injustice within. And I think that's part of the thread of energy that I see running through you. And so it tends to make you want to look for approval from outside. And what I want to do.
One thing I want to share was my dad, when I was 10 years old, he moved away to USA to earn money. So basically, I was 10 years old and, he moved away here. So I know there was a little bit of like out of control type of feeling, where I feel maybe there was some part of OCD that started like 1 or 2 years later after that or so, but it wasn't strong OCD though.
Yeah, and you know what? We're all on, everybody. We're all human, and so we all live on some spectrum of some diagnosable condition at some point. It's like some are here, some are down here, some are very extreme. And so I would caution against letting other people label you too aggressively. That's one. The other is really learning to like who you are. Focus, turn the mirror on yourself and say, what are my preferences about how I want to be in the world? What are my deal breakers based on my values? What are my values? What am I willing to put up with regardless of what other people's opinions are? And this is hard work, but the hard work that will give you that foundation that has been fractured as a child. And maybe even something that came in with you. Although there's, you know, akashically, it's not necessarily yours. I think maybe you've taken on something that's not yours, energetically speaking. So these would be things to focus on to get you outside of looking at, you to stop looking at what's outside of you and help you gain control over all these things that seem to be just scattered. And it feels like OCD, but I don't think it necessarily is just that or is only that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, yes. It was trying to digest all, process all the information. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a big scary monster to deal with, and I'm sure the others are going to share some very cool things as they have been all night. But I do have to get going, and I wanted to make sure I gave you something before I left. And before I do leave, I'll say my name is Eva Vennari, and I'm founder of the Elevate Institute, and I look forward to being part of the future panels.
Eva, tell us where people can find you online so they watch the video later, they can connect with you.
Oh yeah, fastest way to find me and all of my podcasts and all of my, everything that I do. It's like so much. It's on theelevateinstitute.com. It's all one big word smashed together, theelevateinstitute.com.
Thanks, Eva. And I think some others of us will touch on the different things you shared too. So thank you. All right, and Sally's on the East Coast, so Sally's going to share next.
Hi, I'll just say who I am first. That way I don't have to say that at the end. I'm with Sally Spiritual Guidance. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Pretty much those are my main platforms. I'm on a bunch of other platforms, but they're the easiest ones to find me. I have an Etsy shop, which is Sally Spirit Shop. And all the links are posted on my link tree inside the chat. So that's how you can get a hold of me. So I'm going to go into the reading. So it's interesting to me. I got the Five of Swords, which the Five of Swords can be about a very violent. It can be as much as like rape, you know, that it's a very deep card. I'm wondering if maybe a past life type of thing where you might have been even abused in some way. And that is kind of like a repressed trauma of some sort that you're not even aware about. Okay. And that could be why, you know, and then we got the Seven of Wands. This is a card of standing your ground. This is a card of like definitely protecting yourself and keeping people at a distance and not letting them come anywhere near you. In some cards, they're inside of a bubble, right? And they're like in their safe bubble. So I feel like this ritual is more about trying to keep you safe and it makes you feel safe, okay? And I think if you can just figure out some ways, other ways that you would feel safe in setting some healthy boundaries, that might help. You know, I'm certainly not an expert on OCD, so, but it feels to me more like something that's kind of repressed and trying to keep yourself safe. Because we have the Empress, and the Empress is she can be very sexual too. So there's a part of me that feels that you have to find the balance of, it's okay to feel pleasure too. It's okay to, you know, be in a relationship with someone that makes you feel good about yourself and not make that a negative situation. All right. Because then we get the Fool, which is all about taking a leap of faith. The Fool just dives right in. They're at the very beginning of the journey. So it's this feeling like, I just feel like it's okay for you to feel that way. And the way that you have now associated it has made it into a negative thing instead of a positive thing because of the way that you've been taught your whole life. And we get the Sadness card. But I also found out we got the Selling Out card, okay? And this card talks about like where you're in your life, where you're not you know, it does talk about integrity, but also where are you selling yourself out? And, you know, what exactly is integrity? Just because you went and did something that somebody else doesn't think is integrity doesn't mean that you can't own that as something that is integrity. Okay. And this is the dream card. So this is going to be, pay attention to your signs, the dreams, ask for, you know, your ancestors to kind of come to you in your dreams and help you navigate this. I just really quick, I don't want to talk too much, but I wanted to ask you, are your parents still alive or have they passed?
My dad passed away about 3 years ago. My mom, while I was a child, I had, you know, my mom had to like leave. So it was a little bit of insecurity with abandonment because she came back, she left, she came back, she left. So it's like trust issue, not being able to trust her. It's very like unstable or, you know, that kind of environment. The reason I shared about my mom was I felt maybe I couldn't express emotionally. Well, she basically cannot hold my emotions so much. So if I'm like crying too much, she's not gonna give too much attention that I as a sensitive, very, very sensitive soul need it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this OCD is just a way of keeping you safe. Okay. I really feel like if you can come up with boundaries that are more healthy to kind of navigate through this. And again, I'm sure that there's treatment out there too. Maybe some energy healing would help you. I do feel your dad is around you. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't have a lot of time, but I do feel like he has an apology for you. And I think it is because I think it stems from the abandonment issues. Cause you said that he left too, right? But that was because he had to, you know, to provide for you. But I still feel like he feels some kind of responsibility for why you feel the way you do about, you know, the situation that you're in terms of like putting too much pressure on you and putting too much of what is important and what's not important, you know. And that's the kind of message I'm getting from him, that he's apologizing for that pressure he put on you. And making you not, I guess also making you not see what a loving, like family, a relationship between a man and a woman lovingly is like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, before my dad passed away, I did had some problems with him, and I shared with him while he was in his bed, sleeping bed. I mean, he was not consciously awake, but I think he heard me.
I think he did. Did. He's realizing that he's stepping forward with that apology. He's making it feel like he didn't show you what a loving relationship between a man and a woman is supposed to be like. He didn't show you that side of that, the sexual side of how it can be an amazing, you know, experience. And he's kind of making it feel like that's because he didn't have that kind of relationship, I guess, with your mom, or wasn't open about it with you and didn't share that with you. Okay. And so that's kind of what I'm getting. Also, maybe he just wasn't very loving towards you either, because that's just the type of person he was.
Yeah. I didn't see, he wasn't expressive with the love, and it was hard for me and to, you know, not part away, but that was one thing that I was a little bit hard to. So I did forgive him before he passed away. So, you know, in the deathbed, like, as I said, like, you know, you expressed the way you could, you know, you expressed.
Right, but I think it's important for him to remind you that he's aware of that. Do you know what I mean? So that you can really, it can really sink in. It can really sink in that you are entitled to have that relationship with someone, and it doesn't have to be a committed marriage situation. If that person made you feel happy and you felt pleasure or whatever it was, that's okay. It's not a dirty act. You know what I mean? There's nothing for you to feel bad about. And I think he's stepping forward and wanting you to understand that.
Yeah. I also want to share that it is not a societal only thing that I took on. It's me thinking that. Obviously, that's why I have so much of a thing with this purity or not, because it wasn't just about society putting that thing on me, but I took it from probably society, but yet it is now mine. So it is something is hard to let go of because it's still in my value system. And maybe, as you said, is one is doing his job to protect myself from something.
Yeah, it could be a past life trauma, and maybe you have to look at something like that, you know. But so I'm sure someone else will have something to say. So, but thank you for letting me read for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Sally. Been lovely having you here. It's lovely having Eva here too. All right, let's see. We've got Audrey and then Henry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I hear everything that you said, Dina, and I appreciate, I appreciate you sharing this with us, and I want you to know that I deeply feel your hurt. And as you were so carefully trying to explain everything to us, that really showed in an objective eye that you are trying so hard to justify. And then, of course, in the process of your talking, you also mentioned the word guilt, and that was exactly the card that came out. So, the other side of the word guilt is judgment. And if there is no judgment, if nobody else is standing there and saying, oh, you did wrong, then of course there wouldn't be any guilt. So you're fearful of other people looking at you with a different set of eyes. And I drew two cards for you, and they both turn out to be orange cards. One says guilt and the other one says passion. And then let me also mention that the astrology, the chart of the hour or of the question is South Node in the 10th card, in the 10th house. Sorry, South Node in the 10th house. And so again, that means probably in a past life or in this lifetime with the spiritual connection with your family, with that authority figure, maybe father or anybody who is that authority figure, the high position person in your life. Was very important to you, that had a strong influence over you. And then, so again, that's where that subconscious judgment came from. And, there's a Pluto on the rising, on the ascendant. So that tells me that in this lifetime, you are hoping to completely transform yourself. And that is a spiritual purpose. So, of course, we have to have a background, a stage. It's like going to a show, a Broadway show, there's a stage. And your stage is to say, okay, I must have high standards. Just like everything that you're using, all the words that you're using have high standards. And then so therefore, there is the contrast of the judgment. I hope that you understand what I'm saying. So, I think that this guilt that you have been living with, it really facilitates you to look at your life in a deep way. And, the spirit guide tells me that there is a lot of wisdom around you. Let's say the wisdom may be about, religious support, or, metaphysical groups like us, or some other books and, good wisdom around you that you can go to seek solace, to find the answer is, I should be feeling better this way or that way. But the passion card that I got was the spirit telling you that when you find the right person in your life, you're going to have passion. And then that all will resolve away, that OCD or whatever, that feeling of, I don't want to be touched by anybody. That passion will trigger, and then it will activate your own need within yourself again. It's just that you haven't gotten there. Right now, you're still working on this internal thing. Now, because these are both orange cards, so they're telling you about the solar plexus area. So I want to suggest that you do a lot of deep breathing exercise. It doesn't really have to be like a breathing deep and hold the breath in. You can just breathe continuously, in, out, and in a regular way, but do it repetitiously for maybe 20, 40, 60 times. And that, you will allow the air, the oxygen to go deeper and deeper into your solar plexus area, and that will loosen. that grip or the shackle or the the judgment within you. So that's that's what I have to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. And so check, Audrey, are you staying till we finish? I just want to make sure you get a chance to share your contact info if you're leaving. Are you going to be able to
Thank you. All right. So yeah, my website is audreyleemetaphysics.com. You can find all the information, all the events, all the different things that I do over there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Audrey. It's been great having you here. All right. And let's see, we've got Henry and then Susan.
A wonderful, wonderful reading there, Audrey. Just really, really loved it. Just felt the truth of that. So that was just such a privilege to just, I'm so glad I stuck around just even for that. Dina, I think that what I got pinged with most was a sense of guilt, but Audrey already addressed that. So I'm not gonna go any further into it because I think that got addressed plenty. A couple of things that came up for me was that, yes, you did say that the cultural idea of purity isn't what is your greatest concern now, but that you yourself have ideas and thoughts about your own purity. Is that true?
Yes, for that whatever incident or event trauma happened. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there's something interesting that happens. Sometimes how we deal with oppression, and I would say that to hold people to any standard of purity is a form of oppression. That's my sense of it. That's not to say that's true, but that is my sense of it. So a funny thing that happens is that sometimes how we try to free ourselves is by internalizing. Rather than saying, this is being done to me, we say, I believe in that. And I'm doing this to myself. And this gives a sense of control. And it's just, it doesn't ultimately yield anything that frees you because you say you want to feel whole. Well, here's a thought, and it's not the truth, and it's not the truth. It's a thought that you are neither pure nor not pure, but that you are you, and that you're a human being. You are spirit manifested in body. Your spirit pure, and your body, which is in the world of dynamism, in the fields of contrast, when you do good, when you do things that aren't good. And it's not that the good is good and the bad is bad, it's that all of it together, like yin and yang, all of it together creates the experience of being embodied. So it's not necessarily that you did anything wrong or did it right. It's you were embodied, just as you are now. So those are the thoughts that I'm having, that when you're haunting yourself with your purity, you can give that up. And I'll tell you why I have this idea that this is something to give up, is because the card that came out was, what does it say? Deep breath, right? Like deep breath. And then look at this, willingness to release. So willingness to release. And that is really what I feel is needed for you to feel whole, is to just put the whole idea of whether or not you are pure in its place. It has a place in your life, but now it's center stage, and now it causes division within you. It causes conflict within you, and this is not the place for it. Its place can be, this is part of your experience, it's part of your culture, it's part of what you've internalized, it's part of what you believe, but it's not the heart of who you are. And why I'm saying that is because look at this beautiful card. The way I always interpret this card is as love for oneself, like you're both of these. This is my unique way of seeing this card, that you are both of these characters. This is the unconditional, and this is the being receptive to unconditional. So what I'm saying is this card says that you have unconditional love for yourself available. It's already within you. It's only a question of whether you make that more important than the story of your purity. And how you make that more or less important is by where you put your attention. So when the purity comes up and the suffering, the genuine suffering that's around that, my heart goes out to you for that, very much so. You can say, thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing me something that's important to me. And I'm going to now face over here. And you can literally turn your head and face in another direction. And you can say, this, I am loving myself. And then what happens very specifically is that you build new neural networks, because this is your past and this is your present now as well. This is literally structures in your brain, like a skill that you have, like I play guitar. So playing guitar, if scientists look in my brain, they can identify the structures of where I've learned the chords and the picking and all of that. They can literally look in your brain and see which area lights up electrical activity when you think about the story of your purity or these events around your purity. Well, the wonderful thing is, in the same way that this was created, you can create other neural networks that can balance this one. You can create the neural network of loving yourself, accepting yourself, caring for yourself by taking actions like hugging yourself, petting yourself, sweet talking yourself, being kind and good to yourself. And these also become neural networks. So when the purity situation comes up and I'm not feeling whole, then you can say, thank you for sharing. I have compassion for myself for this. And now I'm going to visualize how I love myself. And I'm certainly sure that you can do this, because when you look at this, this is the guardian of air, this is mind, this is your ability to think, and the guardian is the queen. This is somebody who is very powerful. And that is the end of the reading. I hope this was helpful to you.
Yeah, I feel like as I try to resist that part of me, which is a part of me, it's not as part, it's not coming from outside, it's part of me, and it's there for a reason. As I try to resist it, or say try to change it, it becomes stronger, or try to fix it, it becomes even stronger.
Yeah, just love it. Just embrace it. Love it.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do, and what I'm trying to move from is to accept that part of me, love that part of me, ask what it wants, and then move on. But the thing is, when I accept and love and everything, I get to the spiral of the OCD where I have to do the ritual, where I wanted to break that ritual in a way, yet the part of me probably needs to say something even more. I don't know what exactly it is, or maybe something is going on that I haven't break the pot with, like the break that ice with. So I don't know. There's something more that if I try to change or fix it, it becomes stronger, because it's not wrong or right. It is what it is, right? So that's part, like, I don't know, maybe it's, I struggle with judgment, and that part, when I try to judge that part, it is like part of my inner child, and I cannot judge that part. So yet I can say, like, okay, maybe I want something else. But judging that part makes it so much resisting or stronger. So that's what I wanted to kind of share, is like, it is there, but I have to embrace it though.
Yeah, embrace it. And also part of it is also letting it go, like the willing release, letting it go, not as in putting it away or it disappearing, but letting it go in terms of where your focus and where your attention is. Now, I'm sure your focus is not on this all the time like it is this evening, because this was your question, but some part of you puts a lot of focus on that, because your tears showed that there's some deep wounding around that. Otherwise there wouldn't be crying. This crying is your body trying to heal you. This is the way the body heals itself. So this reveals that there's more to this than just a story that has a little bit of a haunting quality. And what I'm offering you is that you can turn your face and you can think other thoughts. Like, let the thoughts of this and let the feelings of this trigger the thoughts and feelings that other thoughts and feelings of being good to yourself, saying good things to yourself about yourself. This is literally a technique of creating neural networks. This is a very powerful tool because you don't necessarily just have to work through it until finally somehow you're liberated from it, or it's somehow the story changes. You change the story by adding new neural networks. And what you can do is later, when this gets recorded, you can, when you're not so in the throes of remembering it because you're sharing it, you can just watch everything everybody has said, and there may be more nuggets for you that right now might not land as powerfully as they will later.
Yeah, as you were saying that, there is a lot of resistance when I hear, it's like, that part is very strong. And I cannot judge it at all. And I think one part of it is because I struggle with judgment a lot. And I just feeling like changing that part, it just makes me feel like I resist it. So I understand what you're saying for sure. It's just, there is a lot of resistance from that part, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, it's all good.
All right, thank you, Henry. And Henry, did you share your contact info?
I have not, but I would love to, because my lovely love of my life has made me dinner, and so we want to eat that. So I'm going to leave after this. So my contact information is, you can email me at henry@henryhello.com. You can visit my website at henryindiaholden.com. I do have a special for people who have attended these events. It's 30 minutes for $30, 50 minutes for $50. I use a number of different modalities. I tailor it to the person who, as is needed. Is there anything else I'm supposed to say?
Just your
Lorelei,
website,
or did
just your website and stuff, so people can find you.
henryindiaholden.com. Yeah. All right, it's absolutely been wonderful. Just, oh my gosh, just such a privilege to be with you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Audrey. Just love it. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Laurie. And thank you, Lorelei.
Thanks, Henry. I know Laurie's got to go, so I want Laurie to jump in and share her contact info too. And Dina, we're still answering. So
thank you so much, you guys, like literally, because you guys are like, extending the time, and I appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
No, you're welcome. All right. Yeah, Laurie, go ahead, share your information in the video, and then, whoops. Oh, we've lost someone. All right, go ahead.
I shared it in the chat actually just now.
If you can share it in the video, I wanted to go in the video though for people that watch the video later.
All right. My name's Laurie Bryant, and Laurie's Angelic Guidance and Intuitive Healing on Facebook, and on Instagram, Laurie Psychic Healer. And you can call me. You can Jezanna@telus.net. It's JEZANNA @telus.net. TELUS. Look forward to seeing you all again.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Laurie. Thanks so much for being here. All right, Susan, go ahead.
Thank you for sharing your story and for staying here, long for you too. So the first card that came out for you was Strength, and he's got the world in his hands. It stood out to me. It's like he's got the world in his hands, and I see that for you. You've got the world in your hands, and there's just all this beautiful light, and I hear that in your voice, just this beautiful radiant light and energy. And the mantra on this card, it says, I have deep inner strength and glorious vitality. And I really sense that from you, just this deep, real strength and vitality. And
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing it with us tonight. I know that you're going through a lot, and I know that strength will carry you through. And like others that came up with Sally, and then also with Henry, another card that came up with family. And the mantra for this one is, I share unconditional love and receive it in return. And some of the, pondering questions, it goes on to ask about if there's unresolved issues within your family. And how do you think receiving, resolving that issue might impact your life? Is there really something that you need to have closure with, either with somebody that's still living or somebody that's passed? And you don't necessarily have to have those conversations. Sometimes they can be too confrontational if they're still living. But, we're all spiritual beings in this human meat suit. And so you can envision, that person is just sitting there, and you can have that conversation and energetically, try to come to some kind of healing or resolution or closure, kind of comes to mind too. And like you say, it's not necessarily a letting it go. It doesn't just disappear, but it doesn't have to necessarily be everything. It's not necessarily all or nothing. And one thing that came up too is, I'm not a prisoner of my past. I'm the architect of my future. And so really taking a moment to, to ask yourself, what do I see for my future? Just putting your hand on your heart, where do I want to be 12 months from now? So on January 20th, 2022, how do I want to feel? How do I see my life? What do I want to be doing? And really connect to your heart, to yourself, to that inner strength. And then just, maybe do that every day. Like, where do I want to be? And then ask yourself, what's one thing, just one thing I can do today to support myself and being the architect of my life today, not what happened before, but today. So I really hope that was helpful, and thank you so much for being a part of our evening and sharing your light and your story with us and allowing us to be a part of your journey.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I resonate with whatever you're sharing, because I am in the journey right now to kind of, to not just be in the past, but, focus on present and what can come after that.
Great. And Susan, did you want to share your contact info too?
I always forget that. Yes, I'm Susan Watkins with Inspired Life Essential Wellness, and I can be reached via email at inspiredlife.service@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at inspiredlife.essentialwellness. And I have a YouTube channel, but I don't have enough subscribers to have it have its own name. So it's this big long thing, but I can drop it down in the chat if anybody wants to check out any of
And
my
I think
meditations.
I've got it
got
also
it
in the chat that people can see it.
Yeah. So that's me.
Thanks so much for being here, Susan. All right. And I'm going to just, so Dina, I want to share an answer too. And I just want to take, going to take us off spotlight first. So if you want to see me while I'm talking, just go ahead and keep it on speaker. Okay, let's see. So I mentioned, so I had some things come up when you first shared, and so many people have shared so many things. You've said a few more things, but I want to say the things that came up at first. It was the idea maybe that you feel dirty, that you feel not good. I wrote down forgiving yourself and imagining fear that you're imagining there's pain and consequences for others if you don't do this.
Not the third one, the last one, but yeah.
Not pain or consequences for others. You said something that
No.
started to sound like it was going there to me, but you hadn't said it.
Consequence for other, well,
like that somehow if like that if you don't go through this ritual, that almost as if like somehow it would be hurtful to your family.
No, there's nothing. No, I don't feel like, but the one that I was saying was the OCD that was before this this event or relationship thingy, that thing that I had to did. And before this thing, there was some low level of OCD where it was not like crazy OCD where, where I pray to the God, and I guess a certain way or certain like times, like I pray or something, or do this one hand posture or something, that if I don't do, maybe my dad or mom would not be here. So something like that, like where I was doing it for the sake of that. So that was before dealing with this particular OCD. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, and I'll come back to the like fear of being dirty or the fear of not being good. And you didn't say no on those, so I imagine that some of those resonate.
The dirty one, pure one, I think it's the same thing, pure, and I feel bad when even saying dirty, but I mean, pure is the actual word, the actual sense that not really dirty, but yeah, not pure. So
right. It's what are the beliefs inside that you, right? What are the things that you believe are true of you, which require you needing to do this? That's what I'm. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
So I got your profile just so briefly earlier, and just feeling your energy on the call. I do think that you probably have the talent that's called priest or priestess. It's about inspiration, vision, passion, motivation. So they feel emotions deeply. They can have strong opinions about things. They're about seeing not only what's here, they're seeing what's possible, wanting to inspire and motivate people to stretch and reach for what's possible. It can be perfection and attachment to what they sense or see as possible. The talent is about aligning, bringing everything together towards that. And one of the huge lessons of them is they can get so fixated on that thing, or so fixated on perfection and purity. Mm-hmm. Those are all words that are priest.
I was a perfectionist, so yeah.
But it's all related. So for me, all this is, yeah. And so part of it, right, it's your gift, and then right, there's be these lessons that come up too. You could also have artisan, and artisan is about elegance, beauty, sensual pleasure. They can overdo sexual pleasure, and with the priestess, it can wrong the artisan. Like the artisan wants sensual pleasure and the priest says it's wrong, it's not pure. Like that's a common, like if you have the combination of all those things. And I would wonder that your other talent is going to be scholar. It's about absorbing information to build knowledge and share knowledge. So like, and then in some of your sharings, you've been strong in your intellect, where you know something in your mind and it's not integrated in your heart and your body yet. Right. And you know that that's part of your journey. It sounds like you know that.
Yeah, there is not much of integration with what I think and what I feel. They don't align sometimes, which is why there is conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
You even talked about like just knowing the psychology, right? You gave an example of, like your little girl, or it's like, are there any children in your life? Any good friends or other family members?
Not children, no. Not close, no.
Are there any animals in your life?
Not right now, no.
No, I was trying to think. Is there an animal that used to be in your life?
Well, long time ago, 15, 16 years ago.
Was it?
Well, it's a sparrow I love, because I think sparrow is a spirit animal. They come to, I feed them in my balcony, but yeah.
Okay, great. Well, so just the ones that you see in the balcony, so all the ones that you see in the balcony, are they good? Is their soul, are they pure?
They're innocent. Well, I don't even think about they're pure or not. I don't see it in that lens at all. They are, not innocent. I saw the sparrow today, because I was in the midst of this thing going on, and I saw the sparrow. And something came up about purity, not purity, the sparrow, but there was something came up where we don't judge a sparrow like that. So that kind of like, there's nothing going on with purity or not purity there. Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm going to, is I wanted to find something in your life where you so know the essence of it is so good or pure or innocent. Where you
can be my inner child, my child, me as a child when I was a child. Yeah.
Right. And then what I would have done, right, if there's a child in your life, and you might be able to go looking for something like this, but if going to say even imagine the bird, the sparrow that was there today. What if the sparrow were doing the same thing that you're doing? Feel that and feel, yeah, what that sparrow must be.
I cannot think like that because I just cannot think like that because
this is a useful tool to do that. So that's why so I'd often, if like someone has their own child or has a nephew or a niece or just someone that they're close to, what if that person were going through this and experiencing this? And what would you tell them? What would you want for them? And feel that.
I'll just give a lot of love to them. Yeah.
Right. This is a way of starting to get those feelings that you'd have and to bring them back to you and go back to that being and bring it back.
Now I see. I thought you mean like pure or not, try to see that lens to them. And that's why I was like, I cannot see that lens to them. Okay. So you were saying like, yeah, feeling the pain, them are going through the same pain.
Right. And you're feeling the paradox of they're good. And so feeling the sadness of that they would believe this about themselves and be doing this to themselves. Now you don't want that for them and you want them to realize that they're good.
Yeah. Yeah, in my head, this is strong. It is very strong. Yeah.
Your mind is very strong. That's why. So
yeah.
That's why you want to choose something where you can feel the emotions. And that's why the sparrow that's there in the moment might be a way you can.
Yeah. Whenever the topic come about like they're doing this to them or so, because it is part of me is saying that is wrong. So it's hard for me to say like, in a way, put it like it's not wrong, you know? So
you give yourself something else to wrong yourself about. That's what I'm hearing. It's like if you're not going to whip yourself in this way, then you're going to whip yourself in another way.
No, not that. What I'm saying is like, that thing that I'm holding on to is not wrong or right, meaning I don't want to judge it. And I don't want anybody to judge that. But me thinking this way, like, or me holding that it is wrong, it's not wrong or right in that sense. That not judgment, that belief itself is not wrong or right. I don't want to judge it that way. Or think in a way like, oh, why am I thinking this way? Because part of me says it is right. And yeah, maybe I feel it is right. Yeah.
And I think I want to link back to just some of my own experience. And, I've not really delved into exactly where it came from. So I guess I was in my 20s. So in my I'd had some milder OCD that was showing up when I was a teenager. And when I was in my 20s, it was pretty clear to me, I'd, something that wasn't as extreme, but was still annoying. I'd have music just repeating. But then the thing that was really harsh is I would, if anything happened that didn't go well for me, something I participated in that didn't go well, I would just replay it and just give myself the harshest statements inside of how I screwed up. And I would have myself experience the screw up and all of the feelings and the shame and all that again. And I would just do it and do it again and do it again and do it again. And it's, I don't know how it eventually stopped, but it would eventually stop. And it was really hard. And when I was in my 20s again, I think I had been chronically depressed so much of my life. And it wasn't until oh goodness, crazy, that I'd been a workaholic. I'm still kind of a bit of a workaholic, but I love my work. And I kept myself focused enough on doing that. And I moved, I'm gay, and I know that now. I'm queer. And at the time I was in denial and not realizing that. But so I got engaged to a man. I left my job, and remember, I'm a workaholic. I had nothing else in my life. I moved to a city full of depressed people. And it was just a mess. So I got really depressed. And I think also because I wasn't working and I wasn't around people all my life, I let myself finally kind of fall apart and have all these feelings. And I got super depressed. So I went on antidepressants for the very first time. And I did something that is not recommended. And I'm saying this, it's like more of my story than you need to know in some ways, but I want you to get a sense of what I was doing over and
You
over.
went somewhere, you said, sorry, you went to where?
Yeah, so I'm telling you a bit more of my story maybe than is needed, but there's some reasons why I want to come back and come back.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I let myself fall apart more deeply than I ever had. I got really, really depressed. I went on antidepressants and I did something that is not recommended. Just want to say this is not recommended. It turned out to be hugely of service to me. So I was on the antidepressants for maybe 4 months at most, and I went off cold turkey, which one is not supposed to do. And for some of the antidepressants that are out now, it can be really damaging to the body. For me, I was on one that it was okay. And what happened after I went off of it is over the next like maybe week or so, all of a sudden the OCD started coming back and I hadn't even noticed that it had gone. And so the antidepressants often have an anti-anxiety component and it had gone. I had no idea. And what happened for me is that I had this very tangible experience of myself without this. And whatever beliefs that I had of myself, I had this experience of me being a fine person without all that. And as the antidepressants were wearing off, it kept coming on and it was stronger, but I had now this connection to me as not that. And so it was this other thing, this part of me that was floating around, but it wasn't the essence of me. And I did a fairly harsh thing for myself and I managed to get rid of it. And maybe I want to come back to, yeah, so it took me like 6 or 9 months. That was one key thing I want to say too. Like it wasn't like a snap my fingers and it went away, but I managed to get rid of it and I've never had trouble with it again. I might occasionally have little like moments of blips and like.
So you get off antidepressant and the OCD came back and you did something that the OCD went away? Okay.
I'll tell you what I did. It's not necessarily the best thing for everybody. I don't know that it's going to be the best thing for you at all, but it connects to something else that's relevant for you. How are you with the expression of anger? And I mean anger, and I differentiate anger and aggression. Aggression is pushing someone else down, and anger is just this clear, fiery, like yes, no. And it can be very mild as we get very comfortable with it, but just the no, this was not okay, or yes, I want that. How good are you with that?
Anger is something that's hard for me to express. And yes, I want that. You know, I can lead with my heart and say yes, yeah, for sure. Well, sometimes hard to decide, but like I am vocal with expressing yes or good emotion. Yeah. But anger is something it's very hard for me to, because maybe I have myself a judgment on anger, like, you know, that I shouldn't be showing my anger sometimes, and even somebody else shows me anger, I have a hard time processing because I don't get angry too much or show my anger. So I can usually my anger turns into emotion. So I'm like angry, then I can turn into sadness faster than before I can even show it. Yeah.
And women are typically taught to go to sadness to cover up their anger. So what you're doing is common. We're taught that culturally. I'm sure, right? Your culture also, and just US culture very much does this. So I believe that you getting in touch with your anger, the healthy anger that doesn't hurt other people, that's part of unwinding this for you. Because for me, I think probably that there are the things that happened to you in the past, in this life, the things that happened in maybe past lives, etc. There's I would say there was going to be also, I would say also I had sexual trauma in my early life and I did not consciously let myself realize this. And I went on to re-traumatize myself sexually with people for a number of years in my early adulthood. And so there's an unwinding of all these things. So even some of the actions that you took, it may be a mixture of you wanted them and you didn't want them and like all kinds of things in there. But I punished myself for a while of abusing myself, you know, and again, not realizing even I was queer and that was part of it. Like this is a big journey. Okay, so anger. So going back to anger, I believe that right in this life and or past lives, people essentially crossed your boundaries in a way that you were not able to stop and you were not able to say no. No. Yeah. And that's the healthy anger.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the being able to reclaim that and being able to do that now. It doesn't have to be with those people at all. You don't even have to know what the situations are, but even just feeling into a bit of what they are, of whatever's here and know. And I'm doing it mildly now, but really being able to claim that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of boundaries for sure. I have a lot of boundaries now for sure. I'm like, I wasn't showing so much, expressing so much when I was little. Before my mom was like on and off, but then, you know, she was there, but she left and she came. So for you know, not like she wanted to leave me, but for visiting my dad. But
even going
yeah.
back to imagining how she had to leave and like to your mom energetically now, like, no, that wasn't okay. I needed you here.
Oh yeah, I did share her but I have not have taste of that emotion myself, because that time I had to be a survival mode because I was in a hostel, and all of a sudden I'm in a hostel and I have to survive. I cannot be crying, right?
I agree.
I didn't feel those emotions, so maybe it was suppressed. So even if I try to think about it, I cannot feel it.
Well,
yeah.
Your survival strategy was to shut all that off. You'd be in worse shape if you had all those feelings then.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't survive because I am in the survival mode now. Who am I going to be, you know, angry at now? My mom left me there. If she was at home, yeah.
That's right. So I got training to work with other people while I worked on these things myself with a psychotherapist, Robert Augustus Masters, that does hands-on body work and works with really deep trauma with people. And does it. And I just, so it deep work to do this, and it was reclaiming my anger, and a lot of my tools about healthy anger come from him. They come from other places too. And
while I was sharing that, like even sharing that story, like, oh, I'm in the hostel, who am I going to be angry with? I felt that anger right now.
That's great. And there's some.
Yeah, I was angry. Like my body is like, I need to take it out, but I cannot.
I'm trying to like, do I have anything right now that I can work with? I don't have anything. I don't have it right now. I have
take it out on my mom. I take it out on my mom.
If I have, I can't do this quite right now. I'm just gonna use my scarf, but it's totally not right. I have a video where I explain this, and I think I don't know if I got your email with how you paid, but let's work on that. So there are two things. So one is, and this can be done fairly quietly. You get a bath towel. So you get a big bath towel, hold it out wide, fold it in half, and then grab the two diagonal corners and you twist it. And scarf is too small.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just twist it like you were, you know, putting the water out, like something.
Right, but you twist, but it's it twists upon itself. Like twist it, and you hold it close to your body and twist, and you're wanting to use the muscles that are all up in here and twist. And ideally, and this is something that may take some practice for you, is to hold your mouth, hold your throat open, and hold your vocal cords open. And even if it's small, but let the slightest sound come out of it.
Yeah.
And this is turning on all these muscles that are connected to anger, which chances are they're very tight in you.
Yeah, I have a neck problem.
Yep, it's great. It's all connected to anger that's stored in your body. And the second thing is to get a washcloth. And you want a thin washcloth. You want a thick towel, but you want a thin washcloth. And so on the washcloth, you twist the corner of it. And I'm just going to bite my scarf. This is like the thing to do, but I'm not going to pull. So you twist the washcloth and you want to put it in your teeth, and you put it back far enough that you don't hurt your front teeth. So you put it back and you bite down, and then you turn this forward and you pull. And again, you hold your throat open while you do this. And the reason why you do this is because these are the other muscles that are totally connected to anger. Right? So the jaw, head, neck, shoulders, and back. And so by doing these things, and this, and as much as you're able, thinking back about anything from your past that you know you feel angry about, and you can start with smaller things at first. And if these can be big things, and big things can come up, and I want you to have the support that you need to do this. So just
yeah. So I especially when I get angry, I get angry at the person. It's like
you're getting aggressive. So this is where you haven't owned your healthy anger, and so chances are you have aggression that's coming out at other people because you haven't given this a clean, like open, safe venue to express about you and the old things.
What I'm saying is like so if I remember something, I want to like shout it out to that person. This is like, why, you know? So I just want to, there is no healthy anger. Either there is aggression or there is suppression.
Right. That's where you've been.
There's only one of the two, and maybe that is also because my family also didn't. Well, they used to show the anger for sure. I was the one who was just not showing the anger so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And so now I go back to the way that I ended up curing my OCD, because remember, there's me, and then there's this repeating, blaming, shaming thing over here. So what I ended up doing, and again, I'm not necessarily recommending this for others, but it's like, and I have in the archetypes, I have a lot of warrior, and warrior is very much like a fighting, pushing, persevering energy.
So when you said blaming, shaming, was it the OCD you're talking about? What are you talking about? Blaming,
This is
shaming?
mine, where I had like this voice that would, it would replay the things that I did wrong and tell me all the things about it, and like the bad shaming about it. And like I'd play the thing and go through the humiliation again. So there's me that I knew when I was on antidepressants. And then there was this other part that was hanging around that was not really me. I didn't have the language for that at the time, but psychologically I know this now, of like my essence and a part. Right. So you have a part that does this ritual. And so every time it came up, I now had this connection to me, and I ended up using anger. It was kind of aggressive though. And so it was a mixture of anger and aggression. And I would yell, and sometimes I did it just inside, and sometimes I did it out loud. I'm at home by myself at that point. I'm not working. And I was like, no, but it was, no, I won't let you do that to me anymore. I won't let you do that to me. And I had this sense of me that is pure. I didn't use that word, but it's the pure part, just like the bird, right? The innocent part. And it would show up, and I was like, no. And in the beginning, when I was first, I'm lucky that it was the antidepressant was tailoring, or, it was like coming down, so it wasn't so extreme. And it would come up, and I'm like, no. And I might have a second of relief, and it would start again. No. And I was pretty kind of brutal in support of me. And I was in touch with my anger more than I'd ever been in my life. And I wasn't studying or working with anyone then. So I just sort of got here, right? I intuited this. And over months, I would get more seconds of relief, maybe minutes, hours of relief. And gradually this went away. And I have this connection to me, not that part.
Did you had any kind of trauma or anything linked with that part coming up?
Well, I have, my mother was priestess secondary, and she was perfectionistic and on herself. I also lived with her mother, my grandmother, until I was around 10, maybe 11. And my grandmother was priestess first. And she's also, for those of you that know the talents, she's scholar and then king, which is really powerful. She was structured and dominance and think act, and she's a narcissist. So I grew up with watching my grandmother endlessly criticize my mother. And then when they moved out, I watched my mother endlessly criticize my father, actually. So I grew up around a lot of criticism. My mom did criticize me. I got punished when I got A- in school. I had a 7. There's just so many layers of so much mess. I had a bunch of sexual trauma. I'm sure I had some blaming of myself around that. It was hidden in my family, even though no one talked about it. So I'm guessing just all kinds of blaming, shaming, all kinds of things, and how I abuse myself. And
yeah, the reason I asked, because it was anything linked, was because I feel like you were like basically portraying or telling me that that part was not you. For me, that part is me, where is a wounded part.
This is where my suggestion is. There's probably, just like the sparrow is innocent.
Yeah.
I imagine that somewhere in there's some essence or soul of you that's good. And it's going to be finding some way of teasing apart this essence of you that's good and this other part of you that's scared that you're not.
Yeah, the thing is that I make myself good after the ritual. So I
understand that. I understand that. I want to say that this is different, and this is it's a little harsh, but are you familiar with spouses where one physically abuses the other?
Not really.
There might be a physical abuser, that then says, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And the people stay together, and the
Mm-hmm.
abuse happens again and says, I'm sorry. And it happens again and says, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cycle. It's a, in that cycle, people aren't really feeling and experiencing what's happening. There's denial of it.
No, I haven't forgiven myself for
No.
that matter. No.
And that's why I started off with 3 things, right? Feeling
Yeah.
dirty, which are not pure,
Yeah.
feeling not good or not pure, and then forgiving yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
The part of you that your being at that time and all that you've been through and the things that were suppressed and healthy feelings that are coming up and just so many layers of things. I believe that everyone does the best they know how in each moment. Even that person that's abusing and saying, I'm sorry, it sucks that they're doing the best they know how. And the opportunity is to get in and to find some way of shifting that up and changing that pattern.
Yeah.
And I want to say again, this was a big journey for me of letting go of my OCD. And the only way that I got there was I happened to not follow the instructions and I happened to go off my antidepressants cold.
Yeah. I think the part of me doesn't want to fix it. It's not
agree.
about that. And it's about embracing and loving and hearing what the part has to say. And actually there is a wound and trauma. I know that there is more processing to be done for the OCD. What happened was probably there was some kind of emotion was very heightened, could not handle and process. Now need to calm down somehow, right? Need to come to the balance somehow. And the OCD did that, to come to balance, come to relaxation, which my body sure needs, or anybody's body needs it, to relax, to not be in that emotional tension, I guess. So.
And I link it to anxiety, which is fear and propagating fear. Yeah, so the beliefs underneath that drive that. And that's why for me, connecting to a sparrow or something where you can feel that innocence and the innocence of life.
Yeah, when you say that though, I'm not trying to argue with you, but when you say that though, I feel there is innocence on that part that is saying this is wrong. There is innocence in that part where it is not it is not doing something bad to me. No, it's not. It is a part of me.
It's doing the best thing that it knows how for you. I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
then trying to fix that part is like denying that part.
And I don't believe in fixing, and I don't really believe in getting rid of. I believe in loosening. So are you familiar with the Chinese finger puzzle?
No.
Chinese
okay.
Chinese finger puzzle is it's a twirled sheet of paper. I don't quite know exactly how it's made, but if you put your fingers in it and you attempt to pull your fingers out, it's hooked onto your fingers, and when you pull out, it gets thinner and it hooks onto your fingers and you can't get out. However, if you face the puzzle, if you lean into the puzzle and put your fingers in, then it opens, and now you can slip your fingers out.
And I like that analogy very much, because that's what it is.
Yeah, so with all these parts, it's really it's holding them and loving them and appreciating them because they got you here. They're doing their best to protect you.
Yeah.
So it's loving them and appreciating them. And in some ways, right, you getting connected to you as the innocent part of the bird, or the the adult and the parts, but it's to let it know that you're okay. And it's just all kinds of feelings and things like that in there too. I'm not saying again that it's a finger snap. So to me, these are like different ways of like leaning in to the pieces that are here, or this is the whole thing, and like just different ways of like nudging in and like loosening up some of what this is. Some part of you decided to ask a question tonight. So some part of you is experiencing pain or or has a sense that there's something else that might be here. Something else. Some
He's
other
trying to heal it, heal or understand what in the world is going on, where I'm doing something and I'm not doing it exactly how the trauma started, but I am doing it in a way where it is now affecting my life day to day. You know, and I know mine is controlling for a reason. I know it has a reason behind it, yet maybe it is not heard yet. Maybe it hasn't been fully heard. What is the exact reason?
And to me, it's this part of you that was never able to be angry.
But who am I going to be angry at? Me, myself? That would be hard.
No, it's feeling the anger again about the things from when you were little, the things from when you were younger, and even it can be things that are past life or generational, or you don't know. But it's experimenting with some of this and seeing what comes up and seeing what makes a difference. And learning to feel safe in your body when you feel anger, because you can be safe now. You're the one creating this experience around you, and I'm guessing that you choose many things that have you feel safe.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do not feel safe. Like just like a trigger happens, then, you know, obviously my body has also reaction, or not only my mind reacting, because the trauma probably, or the thing, the emotional pain is also trapped in the body somewhere, you know. So
And
there is, yeah.
And I know I want to complete soon, but I was, you said like when you say things like, I don't like to be touched, there are ways that you say no. So you do let some anger come through.
I do. I have a lot of boundaries. I tell you that because I say to everybody, okay, there's like basically there is a lot of boundary going on. The thing that is going on now is like I have so much boundary that it's like a little hard to be working. It's like, okay, like how much I can say no and how much can I survive with that, or
you know,
like
the difference between a band-aid, right? The difference between a band-aid and like a real healing. It's like you've got little band-aids all over to try to deal with what's here, and the feeling that fiery anger in you, knowing that you're pure and safe to feel this fiery anger by yourself or with someone that's supporting you. That's what your system needs to know. So even when someone attempts to do something and you say, I don't like to be touched, it can be later feeling the rawr, how could you even think of touching me? Even if it's not to that person. Oh, my dog is gonna.
Your dog is showing the anger.
That's right, he is. He's alerting me that someone is pulling in the driveway. My roommate is back. Yeah, so I hope that I know Susan, you stayed the whole time. I'm kind of amazed you stayed here, but yeah, yeah, so hopefully I've given you some examples of some different things. If you like it, I can send you the video about, I'll show you with the towel and the washcloth.
Yeah. When you were saying, I really appreciate it. When you were saying anger, I don't feel like it's anger exactly. There is suppressed emotion, maybe not exactly anger related with this thing.
Well, there may be more repressed than just anger.
Huh?
There may be more repressed than just anger.
Yeah.
Anger will be a helpful thing.
There is definitely different. I mean, anger may be surface level, but there's definitely other emotion which hasn't been processed. Maybe self-acceptance, maybe something else, maybe I don't know exactly it is, but because I could try to be angry. I can be angry. Maybe I don't show it like exactly like aggression to people, but I can feel the anger. Like I can feel. The thing is that like I show it in a nice way, but I show like when I have a boundary, I did show it like, you know, I don't like this. Okay? Yeah.
Part of it's unlearning to do it in a nice way, and it might be easier to start doing it with a different situation, like about something in the world and the way that people are in the world, or something that happens to women or the environment, or something that you feel passionately about that isn't you and isn't personal. Right? And it has not to be directed to any person, just simply the anger that this is happening and that this is not right, it's good. Yeah. We're okay.
Yeah.
It's Lisa.
Try.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your deep, rich question and your willingness to hear so much from all of us.
Well, thank you so much for, trying to helping. And literally, it is a lot. I am doing a lot because I haven't even shared my mom. I tell you that. So, it's like really, I haven't shared this deeply with anybody, so to speak. So I
Thank
think
you.
even sharing this is part of the journey, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for working through what I'm imagining of shame and fear to be able to tell us, right, all the tears that were here as you shared.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much for holding this space. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah.
So for those of you that are still here, if you are listening, and anyone else that watched the video to the end, we've got many more events coming. You can find them all at MeWeFairs.com. And some of what's coming up this Thursday, we have a MeWe Fair. We have about, I think, 14 practitioners. We'll be doing some sample questions from the audience, and then the practitioners will be offering lots of free talks. It's free to be there. Some of the practitioners will do private sessions as well. We have a panel on mediumship coming up on the 28th, panel on crystal skulls and channeling on the 31st, a training panel where we support new practitioners and practitioners opening to new modalities, answer questions on a panel like we did tonight, although this one was longer and deeper. We do that on August 3rd. No, August 1st, that's August 1st. And we have a panel on self-image and self-esteem on August 3rd. So thank you everyone for being here with us and creating this all together. This is what we do. And
what is Susan's YouTube? I think I know she was.
let me get it. I'll put it in the chat one more time too.
Thank you.
Excuse me. It should be right here. I got all your information.
One thing came to mind, Dina, was when you said, I haven't talked to my mom. And, sometimes we have to hold space and share our story with ourselves and hold space for those emotions for ourselves before we can share them with other people.
Yeah, definitely feel that. And I know the history of she not being emotionally available when I needed her to hold the space. So it's hard for me to be open to sharing when I don't know if she's gonna judge me. I think that was the biggest fear I have is that judgment. And it was very hard for me to share this here, but I did it. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
And that's the start, right?
Yep.
So part of sharing your story with us was also for yourself. You're hearing your own voice. Your voice has power, and so in a sense, you shared and held space for yourself today too, and allowed us to be a part of that. So very honored.
Yeah, thank you for listening to me. And I definitely I feel like it's so easy for me to bring up things when I'm talking to somebody instead of me thinking in my head, because maybe there is partly there is a lot of judgments when I think it, and when I'm sharing with somebody is, I guess maybe I'm open to receive somehow, some way. So thank you all, like really appreciate it. Yeah.
Very, very welcome. All right. I'm going to stop the recording and stop the closed caption.